On the 8th floor of the tower, facing the Hydra boss, Subaru's party had completely fallen apart. Most of his teammates had met a tragic end, and even he, the #1 player, was struggling immensely. I was in rough shape, pinned against the wall by a sword that had run him through the gut, his intricate mask shattered. Gasping in the freezing air, he forced himself to speak. "I told you all to run, but you never listened. I don't recall giving any of you permission to die." They had finally taken down the monster that was said to be invincible. But at what cost? Looking at the scattered corpses of his comrades lying in the cold snow, Subaru felt his throat go bitter. His own condition was just as dire as the system alerts flashed that he had been poisoned. Natural regeneration was disabled. His fatigue had hit 94, a critical level, and the red warning lights kept flickering before his eyes. If his fatigue reached 100, Subaru would perish, and he knew it. But there was nothing else he could do. He thought to himself that he probably already knew exactly what his teammates would have said if they had won. "Welcome back, Narukami Subaru, the Thunder King." Surely that's what they would have said. But now, no one was left alive to cheer, and Subaru's eyes were filled with hatred as he glared at the hypocrite standing before him. He still had one burning question he needed to ask. Why did you do this? "Answer me, Kyoju Kazuki!" Kazuki wore a satisfied smirk that looked chilling in the blowing snow. He stepped forward and crouched down to meet Subaru's gaze. "It's been 15 years, Subaru. I've risked my life to reach this day for 15 long years. You and everyone else should understand that. This was the only way I could ever defeat you. If I hadn't drawn your attention away, your precious Blue-Eye Guild would have just gotten in my way, wouldn't they?" Subaru gritted his teeth in fury at every word, then looked out at his teammates lying frozen in the snow. He didn't know how much the things he had given him had tormented him. "I don't know how much you suffered, so I chose the world instead of you." Kazuki's voice suddenly rose to a scream, but then he bit his lip and lowered his tone. "Well, that's all there is to it. It's truly a shame I had to do this, but finally I get to see the end." Kazuki stood up, looking as if he were savoring the moment, and pulled out the Archangel's Blessing, the item Subaru had given him earlier for protection. "Oh, right. I probably don't need to return this anymore, right? Since the Blue-Eye Guild is going to disappear along with you anyway. Don't be so sad. Even if you die, you'll still be remembered as a hero. Though I guess you won't be around to verify that, will you?" Holding the Archangel's Blessing and spitting out his taunts, Kazuki was in high spirits, while Subaru, his heart had already been shattered by such a blatant betrayal. "To the very end, you only ever hear what you want to hear, don't you?" he sarcastically retorted, then tried to push himself up off the ground. Subaru knew for a fact that he wouldn't survive this. But that didn't mean he was just going to sit there and die for nothing. He opened his inventory and pulled out a fan, and seeing Subaru, already on the brink of death, somehow struggling to stand, Kazuki looked as if he'd seen a ghost. The fan in his hand was called Aeolus, a legendary tier item, level 80+, with the effect of creating a powerful gust of wind that could blow a target 10 kilometers away. "It still works? It still has charges left?" Kazuki was even more horrified as he saw Subaru open the fan. "I won't let you!" the trash yelled, but Subaru roared back. Aeolus still had 4 uses left, and over there were exactly 4 members of Blue Eye still alive, badly wounded, but at least they could get out of here. Thinking of this, Subaru swung the fan, creating a massive shockwave, but the targets he chose weren't Kazuki and his army. They were his 4 remaining teammates, who were sent flying away like arrows. Kazuki's face darkened instantly and he screamed, "Chase them! Hurry! Don't let any of them survive!" At his command, a group of his men started to take off. The Aeolus in Subaru's hand had served its purpose, finishing its 4 charges and beginning to dissolve. A smile appeared on his face, one that was both relieved and terrifying. "No, you scum," he said. "You're all staying here with me." By now, Subaru's fatigue was at 95, nearing the limit. Because of that, the Thunder King's resilience was severely limited. But despite that, Subaru summoned lightning to channel his power, and all those bolts struck his own battered body. And then, the Thunder King descended. Watching that magnificent sight, Kazuki couldn't help but admire him, yet he felt pity too. "Subaru, you really are a stubborn bastard, aren't you?" he said with a bitter laugh. After summoning the lightning, Subaru did something else that made the others tremble. He pulled the weapon that had been impaling him out of his body. By now, his fatigue had hit 96. "I don't know what that Kyoju guy promised you to make you do all this, but I hope you were prepared to pay for it with your lives." As he said this, Subaru pointed the tip of his weapon at that pile of trash. "But I hope you're all ready to pay for this with your lives," Subaru said, aiming his weapon at that pile of trash. "Your eyes seem to contain a roaring fire of hatred burning bright from this very moment. No one leaves without my permission." Kazuki's lackeys were initially shaken by Subaru's aura, but they couldn't believe someone who was barely holding it together could actually threaten such a crowd. So in the end, they all rushed in, surrounding him from all sides as flashes of light erupted. Normally, Subaru would never lose to people like these, but his body was reaching its limit, and if Kazuki stepped in, it would be a whole different story. Dealing with these thugs alone was already exhausting enough. As his fatigue hit 97, just 3 points away from the limit, Subaru couldn't hold on any longer. Just then, a nameless grunt approached him from behind. Taking advantage of Subaru's distraction, he landed a slash. Intense pain surged, blood flowed more freely, and his vision blurred. Fatigue hit 98. Subaru struggled hard not to collapse. But as he staggered, the scumbag delivered another blow. The blade pierced straight through his chest, and instantly the weapon in Subaru's hand went limp. It clattered to the ground. "We did it! We killed Narukami Subaru!" the scumbag shrieked with glee. But then he looked down and met a pair of eyes filled with burning resentment. "You said, you killed who?" Subaru grabbed him tightly, then unleashed almost all of his remaining strength. It was as if they had all been struck by lightning. Kazuki's men standing near him didn't even have time to scream before they all collapsed to the ground. Once again, Subaru pulled the object out of his chest and slowly knelt to the ground, witnessing the explosive scene. No one dared to step forward, they just looked at each other in confusion. "He's down, right? Did we take him down?" Within Subaru there was not a shred of life left, but no one dared to underestimate him, fearing they would suffer the same fate as the others. Throughout this, Kazuki just stood at a distance, watching. That stubborn resilience until the very end made him seem like a monster in Kazuki's eyes, but what did that strength matter? He had fallen by his hand regardless. Subaru now had only a final breath left as his fatigue reached 99, just 1 point away, and it was truly over. He gritted his teeth, his mind filled with one single thought. "Kazuki, you know better than anyone that in the end, I will still be the one who wins." That thought fanned the flames of hatred in his heart. It was like a final flicker of life before the end. Subaru suddenly rose with great force, gripped a spear, and threw it with all his might. The movement was so fast that no one could react in time. Kazuki was still relaxing, thinking. Subaru couldn't move anymore. He admired the Archangel's blessed equipment in his hand, thinking he would live a good life with this. But then, when the wind created by that spear reached him, Kazuki realized something was wrong. He only had time to blink and stare at what was flying straight toward his head. What happened after that, Subaru knew nothing of, until he passed away. He still held on to the thought that he would be the winner in the end, but saying such cool things while looking so pathetic made Subaru feel deeply uncomfortable. At that moment, his soul was like a drifting breeze with no place to return to. It was a pity he collapsed without seeing the scene, where Kazuki took the final hit and perished. Perhaps because of that lingering regret, Subaru kept thinking about it while standing on the brink of life and death, wondering if he would be stuck in this state forever? Then that would be no different from torture. But then suddenly Subaru smelled something. That wasn't right. How could a dead person smell anything? Could it be? That absurd thought pushed Subaru to wake up quickly. Clang! The ear-splitting sound of metal hitting the ground echoed. It turned out to be a trash bin lid, and Subaru crawled out of that foul-smelling bin. "Is this hell?" he muttered, unable to stand the stench surrounding him. In front of Subaru, another status window appeared, but the name on it was written as Hosoi Subaru, not Narukami Subaru anymore. Moreover, all his stats were extremely low, trash tier, to say the least. Subaru didn't understand what was happening. A severe headache struck, and a flood of memories that didn't belong to him poured into his mind. Subaru heard countless strange voices. While being tormented by the pain, many questions arose in his mind. The name doesn't fit my face at all, and from Earth? That place is nothing but trash. Amidst the chaotic memories, flooding his mind, Subaru caught an old stream of thought. Exactly. Narukami Subaru is an anomaly, struggling to regain half of his self from 25 years ago. Subaru grew increasingly panicked. He wasn't sure if those thoughts were his own or someone else's. And then, looking at the metal trash bin lid on the ground, Subaru saw a completely strange face. Wait, Narukami Subaru died 25 years ago? Then what the hell is this body? He shrieked, instinctively wanting to get out of the bin, but his body didn't listen, causing him to fall, face first into the dirt. The temporary pain forced his impulsive actions to stop. Subaru saw an old player's tool fall out of the bin along with him. I immediately picked it up and tried searching for the keyword blue eye, and the information that followed only made Subaru's mind more confused. Blue Zone? The heir of the blue eye? Lacking power? The secret behind the name Blue Zone? Blue Eye is the name given by Narukami Subaru. Blue Zone continues to develop, inheriting the will of Narukami and the Blue Eye, guild leader Kyojo. Together we declare, we will win the next tournament. Discussing the legacy of the Blue Eye from 25 years ago. A series of articles appeared before Subaru, and he began to mutter again. No way, he's still alive, that bastard Kazuki. On the screen was the latest photo of Kazuki. He was wearing a half-mask, radiating a bit of that old Subaru flair. Subaru's fingers trembled. Hatred surged within him once again like a tidal wave. This scumbag, Kazuki Kyojo, wasn't even his enemy in the beginning. In fact, they were quite close and used to be in the Blue Eyes Guild together. But then, one night, Kazuki called Subaru out late. He said he was thinking about leaving the guild. What? Why so sudden? Subaru was shocked at the time, but it seemed Kazuki had already made up his mind. I want you to break the news to the others for me, and then you'll understand why. Don't worry, okay? Even when I leave, I'll always be your shadow. Back then, Subaru still thought their relationship was just defined as friends. A few years after leaving Blue Eyes, Kazuki formed another guild and appeared before him once again. I used a name they had jokingly tossed around, Lam Ku. That was the name of the shadow he had spoken of. After struggling to adapt to living in a new body for 25 years and stuffing all the latest news into his head, Subaru learned that Kazuki was still stuck on the 9th floor. That meant for 25 years he hadn't achieved anything. He left the alleyway with the trash. That stinking armor, his hand still scrolling through the news. Subaru's finger stopped on an article titled, Crowds Gather to Pay Respects at the Narukami Memorial Hall. Subaru. These memories hadn't faded, even after 25 years. He was a bit surprised, then decided to head to the memorial hall dedicated to himself. This place was much grander and more impressive than he had imagined. Inside, it was filled with his old belongings, including the mask he used to wear. The number of people here to pay their respects was indeed huge, but that didn't make Subaru feel happy or proud. He didn't know who had built this massive memorial hall, and for what purpose? But Subaru quickly found the answer when he heard a familiar voice, though it had aged a little. He was a role model for all of us. At all times, the man closest to the top of the tower, the hero of the Blue Eyes Guild, and the one who created the undefeated legend, Narukami Subaru, to forever remember him. Along with all my comrades, we established this memorial hall. Subaru looked up to see a projection of Kazuki floating before him, wearing a smile that couldn't have been more fake. Though Narukami and Blue Eyes are no more, Lamku is the only guild that still exists and inherits their noble spirit. Hearing these absurd words, Subaru really wanted to scream at Kazuki. Shut your mouth and stop spouting nonsense! He never imagined that taking his life wasn't enough to satisfy the bastard. He even deliberately set up this memorial hall. How ironic. Anger made Subaru grit his teeth. The veins on his forehead throbbed. Narukami Subaru and Blue Eyes will never return, but we will never forget them. The projection continued to speak. Subaru stared at it with eyes full of resentment. If Kazuki was that obsessed with him, then he would have to live up to his expectations. Kazuki surely didn't expect that Subaru had been reborn, but if the heavens had given him a second chance, then this history. Subaru was determined to rewrite it from scratch. Subaru had made up his mind. He would not let that bastard Kazuki live freely any longer, and he didn't intend to waste this second chance. However, that thought was suddenly interrupted when someone bumped hard into Subaru's back. It looked like a child. He leaned down to help them up, but when he saw the child's face, Subaru was left stunned because the kid was wearing his mask. Subaru froze like a statue. Then two young people ran over to him. I'm sorry, are you okay? The man asked anxiously. Minato, are you all right? The woman chimed in. Don't worry, we just bumped into each other a bit, Subaru replied. He intended to say more, but he fell silent when he looked at the two newcomers, because they were also wearing masks, exactly the same ones he used to wear back in the day. Subaru didn't understand what was going on. As the three of them left, he anxiously turned to look at the others in the memorial hall. Subaru had to rub his eyes for a long time when he saw all these people. Every single one of them was wearing a mask, all exactly the same. The feeling of being surrounded by so many Subarus made his limbs go weak. Subaru instinctively remembered the words Kazuki had said to him in his previous life. "It's a real shame things turned out this way. Don't be so sad. Even if you die, you will still be remembered as a historical hero." Now, it seemed, Subaru finally understood what he had meant back then, but he still couldn't understand why Kazuki would choose to turn him into a hero in the eyes of the world like this. He continued wandering around the memorial hall and discovered that most of the visitors were gathering in one corner. Out of curiosity, Subaru went over to take a look. I then discovered this was where his shrine photo was placed. Surrounding the large picture were countless lit candles, and beside them, rows of white chrysanthemums arranged in clusters. The visitors all looked at the photo with deep reverence, but Subaru felt no happiness or pride when seeing this sight. I thought to himself, is this just a way for you to claim the glory of Blue Eyes all for yourself? I was about to leave, but his gaze suddenly fell upon something. A single chrysanthemum among thousands of others. It didn't look special at all, but only Subaru could spot the difference. I immediately became urgent. Subaru ran through the crowded hall, bumping into one person after another, making them very annoyed. "Hey, watch where you're going! Wait your turn!" someone snapped, but he was in no mood to pay them any mind. Subaru ran straight toward that chrysanthemum. You reached out to grab it, cold sweat beading on your forehead. One question haunted your thoughts. Is it you? As Subaru stood there, bewildered, two figures dressed in black appeared on the rooftop of the building facing the memorial hall. They were both staring intently at the architecture across the way. An older man with a weathered face, wrinkled with age, spoke up. "We've made it through another year, haven't we? If we had been any later, we would have run right into Langku. Besides, is it really necessary to do this every single anniversary? Just offering chrysanthemums should be enough, right?" The woman replied, "You never know what might happen." The man spoke again, reaching up to take off his hat and face mask. His aged features quickly shifted, transforming into the appearance of a dashing, clear-eyed man. It was obviously one of Subaru's former comrades. Subaru might recognize the flowers we brought up there. He continued, "Do you honestly think that kid is still alive? I haven't confirmed it with my own eyes yet." The guy was incredibly firm, but the woman felt he was just talking nonsense. "Ha! Instead of us looking for Subaru, Kazuki might find our location even faster. Besides, if Subaru were truly alive, we wouldn't have had to hide and watch all of this unfold for the last 25 years, you idiot." She seemed to be venting all her frustration on her comrade, but he didn't pay any mind to it, simply wearing a look of relief after finishing the task of offering the flowers. Subaru's year. The sunset had draped over the city, and the birds had begun to fly back to their nests. Subaru had left the memorial hall long ago. It was unclear where he was heading. All that was known was that he was running for his life with this weak, fragile body, while his hand still tightly gripped the chrysanthemum he had seen earlier. "Are you really still alive, Sig?" Subaru wondered, trying to organize the chaotic thoughts in his mind. Relying on Hosoi Subaru's memories, he headed to the room that the kid used to occupy when he was left alone. Subaru tried searching for Lamnan using many player tools, but it yielded no results. However, after seeing that flower, Subaru was almost certain that Siegel was still alive. If she was alive, there was a high possibility that the others were as well. And the fact that they implicitly hid a flower like that among thousands of others also meant that they were currently in hiding. Without needing to think much, Subaru guessed that Kazuki was the reason Siegel had to hide in the shadows like this. Based on his personality, he certainly wouldn't let anyone live in peace if that person knew his true colors. Has Siegel really survived on her own? Subaru asked himself. He remembered clearly that at that time, he had used the last 4 charges of the fan to blow away his 4 remaining comrades. But thinking back now, he wasn't even sure if they had been completely blown away or not. In any case, the fact that Kazuki, the one he was certain had been hit by his final strike and perished, was now alive and kicking meant that, regardless of whether Sig and the other 3 were alive, trying to reconnect right now would be no different than a method of suicide. Not to mention that now Subaru was no longer a top-tier player, but was just inhabiting a powerless body. So forcing himself would only make him a target for the bad guys sooner. Anyway, after organizing his thoughts, Subaru decided the first thing he had to do was regain his strength. According to the memories of the former owner of this body, Hosoi, Subaru, the orientation for becoming a player would begin in 2 days. If Subaru could survive, the chance of him and his old comrades meeting again was entirely possible. So for now, he needed to be patient. 2 days later, at the orientation hall, a young man was struggling with 2 goblins. The one observing him at this moment was Huga, an examiner. The guy seemed to have exhausted all his strength just to take down those 2 goblins, but before he could even catch his breath, Huga asked, "You passed, but do you want to continue to the next part?" The young man looked up at him with an expression of disbelief. "Huh? The next part?" A notification window quickly appeared in front of him with the question, "Do you want to continue to the next challenge?" Each part increased by 1 goblin. Winning higher parts would yield greater rewards. It sounded attractive, but the guy immediately shrieked, "Never, I will never do this. Are you crazy? No! There is no way I can beat 3 goblins at once." "Keep it down. You're giving me a headache. I'll fail you," Huga answered impatiently. The young man in front of him gradually disappeared. But before vanishing completely, he frantically asked again, "Wait, but I already passed, right?" After he had completely vanished, Huga began to let out a long, heavy sigh and grumbled to himself, "That kid could only make it that far in the orientation. I didn't expect to have to pass someone as weak as that." Come to think of it, except for Isaac, the biological son of Reinhardt, who passed level 20, none of the candidates here are promising. The standards for this orientation test are pathetic. The quality of recruits is almost hitting rock bottom. While Huga was still muttering, he suddenly froze because his gaze landed on the name of the next candidate, who had also appeared at that very moment. The corners of Huga's mouth curled into a challenging smile. "Well, that's a name that has to carry some weight. Well, of course, that only matters if you actually pass. So, shall we begin?" No one else, the person standing in front of Huga now, was Subaru. After that, he quickly created the test for him, just like the previous guy, 2 goblins. Subaru's mission was to eliminate them as neatly as possible. But listening to Huga's tone, it seemed like he wasn't expecting anything from him at all. "Let's start this test right here and right now." The man urged him on impatiently, unlike the other candidates. Huga hadn't even finished his sentence when he saw Subaru flash past him like a gust of wind, his sword swinging up to cleanly slice through the goblin's neck. Before the 2 goblins could even react or attack, Huga stared, mouth agape, eyes wide in shock as he watched the severed goblin heads float through the air. "Something just flew past me, right?" he muttered. Because Subaru's speed had been so blindingly fast, Huga couldn't even track him with the naked eye. When he turned back, he saw that the boy had already completed the test, with just a single strike. He must have been incredibly stunned, but Subaru wore a rather satisfied smile. Over the past 2 days, he had spent almost all his time testing the limits of this body, and he had reaped the rewards. At first, when looking at this body's stat sheet, Subaru had dismissed it as trash, but after starting his training, he realized he had been reincarnated into a pretty amazing vessel after all. After taking down those 2 goblins, Subaru received a prompt similar to the one the guy before him got. Without a second thought, he immediately replied, "Obviously. I don't have much time for this, so let's get it over with as quickly as possible." Afterward, Huga witnessed a spectacle that shocked him far more than the guy he had highly rated earlier, Isaac. Subaru was on an entirely different level. Huga even forgot how to close his mouth. As he watched the boy repeatedly slice through the goblins' necks in a single stroke, the testing room quickly turned into a battlefield littered with goblin corpses, scattered and broken. Meanwhile, Subaru looked like he'd been pumped full of adrenaline. He fought with tireless energy. Although he struck with the ferocity of a storm, Huga could see that Subaru's attacks weren't just wild swings. He anticipated his opponent's moves 2, even 3 steps ahead, taking them down without giving them a chance to retaliate. That wasn't just the mark of a skilled swordsman. Even Huga himself couldn't reach the realm that Subaru was currently displaying. Looking at the supremely confident young man before him, he couldn't help but mumble, "Unless he really is the reincarnated Narukami Subaru, how could this be happening?" At that moment, Subaru had just finished off another goblin as effortlessly as could be. So far, he had passed a total of 49 trials. Next was the final round with the boss. Looking at the notification window hovering before him, Subaru lost his patience and snapped, "Just get on with it!" The moment he finished speaking, the ground suddenly shook, the floor cracked open, and a giant hand erupted from the fissures. Now Hyuga couldn't manage a laugh anymore. He screamed, "You idiot! You aren't Narukami Subaru! You're just a kid! If you value your life, stop this right now!" The Goblin King had appeared before Subaru. As expected of a final boss, its appearance, size, and power were completely different from the fodder from earlier. Sensing that his 49th sacrifice was Subaru, the Goblin King was absolutely enraged. Hyuga kept screaming, begging him to give up. "Fighting that boss is way too risky. Don't be greedy, no matter how skilled you are. You can't close the gap in stats." Subaru knew all the warnings Hyuga was giving him. With this body's current stats, he could barely deal any damage to the monster in front of him, but even so, he didn't want to let this opportunity slide. "I refuse to stop." As he spoke, Subaru dropped the blunt sword in his hand. Hyuga was so terrified by this action that he nearly lost his soul, clutching his head and yelling, "Why did he drop his weapon? Is he crazy? I knew there was something wrong with this kid from the start." Now Subaru was completely unarmed. I was facing a Goblin King that possessed overwhelming size and strength. The monster charged at him, but just as it reached, about 2 steps away from Subaru, its thigh was suddenly pierced by something sharp. A sudden, sharp pain hit, causing the Goblin King to stop, a drop of cold sweat forming on its face. It looked confusedly at the human boy who had just widened the distance between them. In his hands were sharp nails covered in some kind of liquid. A smug smile appeared on Subaru's face. "Surprised?" he asked, even though the Goblin King probably didn't understand human speech. "Let's place a bet. Let's see if you can take me down first, or if I turn you into a beehive before that." The moment he finished, Subaru's agile body lunged forward again. The 2 silver nails in his hands plunged straight into the Goblin King's eyes, causing it to roar in agony and rage. Its vision quickly dropped to 0, combined with the pain, which was far more intense than the nail in its thigh. The monster staggered back 2 steps, then blindly grabbed a heavy iron axe and swung it wildly into the air. Although the swing was incredibly powerful, because the opponent couldn't see anything and was just flailing, Subaru dodged it quite easily. While weaving and evading, he found more spots to attack. Using hidden weapons, this skillfully came from his experience in his past life. Originally, Subaru was worst at throwing darts. At that time, one of his teammates, Rina, had personally taught him how to turn anything into a projectile by finding its center of gravity. Subaru remembered it clearly. Back then, she had used a pen to pierce the bullseye and shatter the target in front of him. Now, thanks to that hard-earned experience, Subaru used another nail to pierce straight through the Goblin King's throat. Not waiting for it to struggle, he continuously slammed in 10 more nails. The monster's screams of pain and helplessness echoed endlessly, while Subaru looked extremely chill during the fight. Power is proportional to torque, and accuracy is inversely proportional to hesitation. Those were the things Rina had taught him regarding the corpses of regular goblins and those poison needles. They won't disappear until this trial ends. The poison needles were something Subaru had scavenged from their weapons. Even Hyuga hadn't expected him to be able to make use of that. Hyuga watched the young man before him with growing respect. First, it was the excellent swordsmanship to cut down the goblins, then the technique of piercing opponents with hidden weapons. "You're a genius," Hyuga couldn't help but exclaim, though he felt the word genius wasn't even enough to describe Subaru's talent as he continued to seriously dominate the Goblin King. After a while, the massive body couldn't withstand the hundreds of poison needles in it and collapsed. At that moment, Subaru picked up his dull sword and walked over to it. "I don't hold any grudge against you," he said. "It's all just part of the mission." Finishing his words, the sword in Subaru's hand struck down precisely. The test had officially ended once he had successfully taken down the Goblin King. He had handled the 50-step tutorial perfectly, but Subaru didn't seem particularly happy or proud. "It's still just a tutorial. Don't throw a monster like that into a training phase," he muttered to himself. Completing this tutorial caused Subaru to be bombarded with endless notifications, level-up alerts, reputation gains, and achievement point rewards. Then, the notification to unlock the tutorial shop. This was the one that Subaru cared about most. He currently had 2,425 achievement points. He wondered what he could buy with them. He had never even seen the shop before. Thinking that, Subaru quickly opened the tutorial shop. It listed available items, priced at 5,200 points. It seemed like even if he bought them all, he would still have plenty of points left over. Then, Subaru's eyes suddenly widened when he saw an item. I can actually buy items like this? It was a sword called the Blade of the Nameless Demon, priced at 1,000 achievement points. The sword drains the user's HP and mental energy to increase attack power and physical ability. Because it was a failed work by the swordsmith skin, it doesn't have a proper name. Man, I didn't expect to run into one of King's artifacts here, Subaru marveled. Even though this thing was incredibly tempting, it used energy that burned through his vitality, so he still had to consider finding other equipment. Then Subaru scrolled and saw the Holy Sword Miranda, priced at 1,400 achievement points. It was a Midran sword blessed by the cathedral, which helped reduce accumulated fatigue and extend combat time. Facing a demon sword that drains vitality on one side and a blessed holy sword on the other, Subaru was incredibly conflicted. His finances only allowed him to choose one of the two, and he was wondering which option suited him better, as both were very solid. Initial points should be invested precisely, so Subaru was quite headache-stricken over making this decision. While he was still wavering, the screen suddenly displayed another option. Subaru hurriedly tapped to view the details. This time it wasn't equipment but an effect called Greed. It was priced at 1,400 achievement points. It was only an F-rank skill, but it had the effect of canceling the side effects of skills and items used by the user. Its rank and level could also be upgraded, with a cost of 10,000 C. Subaru couldn't help but be excited because he had never seen a skill that provided an effect like this. This was the perfect skill to negate the negative effects that the demon sword brought. Subaru quickly made his decision. He bought the Greed skill for 1,400, and the Blade of the Nameless Demon for 1,000 achievement points. They had used up almost all the points Subaru had, but it was a worthwhile investment. Sure enough, this skill and the demon sword seemed to be a perfect match. Subaru swung the sword in his hand with satisfaction. So you chose the demon sword. Huga, standing behind him, suddenly spoke up. Good choice. That skill and that item are very compatible. However, as an invigilator, I don't understand why you chose that skill. I don't know if it'll be useful or not. And you're not even sure if it's effective, huh? Subaru threw Huga a look of disgust. You want me to explain every little detail? Yeah, explain it. Huga pressed him with overwhelming intensity, as if to say that if Subaru didn't open his mouth, he would give him a beating. Well, I'm not strong enough yet, so I'll have to put up with it for now. Fortunately, Huga saw that he didn't want to talk, so he didn't press the matter to the end. All right, you must be very tired after this test, so I can let it slide this time. It wasn't because of any special reason or anything. Subaru looked at the face full of the marks of time on the man in front of him and couldn't help but exclaim inwardly. Actually, he had recognized Huga right from the start. It was just that he never expected the snot-nosed kid from back then, who used to trail after him begging for an autograph, to have become such an imposing invigilator now. Subaru still clearly remembered Huga's face turning red with embarrassment. Back then, along with his stuttering voice when standing before him, I'm a fan. Can I have your autograph, sir? Let's see, what did Subaru say back then? Autograph? I don't have one. Oh, then just write your name here, that'll be fine. I'm Hiroto, Huga said, frantically holding his notebook out in front of him. The flashback ended. His youthful face overlapped with the face he had now, giving Subaru a somewhat surreal feeling. Huga had no idea that the young man in front of him was his idol. Since I've been reborn, it's time to start leveling up. Listen, it's my era now. To become a player, learning the rituals is step one, unlike these young kids today. They get a little bit of skill and suddenly they're so arrogant. I don't know what kind of education they get, but they hate losing, only demand their own rights, and instead of showing respect to their elders, they just call us fossils. Subaru smiled, feeling helpless. Times have really changed, just like the amount of hair left on Huga's head. All right, you cut him off. I wasn't planning on answering anyway, so let's keep the results of this test a secret, shall we? Here we go again. Talking back with knowledge you picked up on the internet, Huga grumbled. But it sounded more like he was affectionately scolding him. It seemed like he had been completely won over by Subaru's performance. Then Huga suddenly thought of something and spoke up with enthusiasm. All right, fine. Since that's the case, I'll personally train you in the techniques you're missing. How about this? Are you interested in joining the Knights Guild? Not interested, Subaru replied without even thinking for a second. His attitude left Hyuga feeling both embarrassed and furious. It's rare for an examiner like me to personally recruit someone, you know, he shouted, but Subaru didn't even care. He started moving toward the second floor, and Hyuga couldn't stop him even if he wanted to. After Subaru left, the old man looked completely defeated. Good Lord, I'm so disappointed in your attitude, he sighed heavily. By this time, Subaru had already reached the second floor of the testing center. While the first floor only had the examiner and some goblins, the atmosphere up here was incredibly lively. As soon as he arrived, Subaru heard people selling fresh deep-sea fish from the region of Runetra, and special dried meat as well. This place used to be a starting zone, so it was no surprise to see people coming and going. The feeling of returning to this place once again made Subaru's heart incredibly excited. He had grasped an opportunity that no one else had, and because of that, he decided that in this second life, he would try harder than the first. Since he had already experienced it once, he had to handle everything better than in his previous life. Subaru was doing this not just for himself, but for the teammates who were waiting for him, and to take revenge for the horrific ending they faced in the previous timeline. Subaru needed a private training room for practicing on his own, learning how to use new skills, checking his equipment's durability, and so on. He went to a place that specialized in providing such rooms for players. As soon as the owner saw Subaru, he asked, "What floor did you come from?" "I just came up here." This was a place all players frequented. Seeing that Subaru was a first-timer, the owner advised him to use training room number 1, which had a straw dummy, but Subaru replied that he wanted to use room number 5. "I'll be honest, don't do that, it's a waste of money, just use number 1, the owner said, looking incredibly impatient. "I appreciate your concern, sir, but just give me 30 minutes, Subaru replied firmly. His stubborn attitude left the owner speechless. After all, he met plenty of people every day who thought they were the main character, challenging their own limits. Subaru probably wasn't an exception. "Fine, whatever you want. And no refunds if you leave halfway through, got it?" Subaru headed straight for room number 5. The higher the number, the harder the training room. For a player without decent equipment, being looked down upon was almost a given. Subaru didn't really care about how people saw him. He opened the door to room number 5, let out a breath, and thought, "All right, let's get started." This was the first time Subaru used the sword of the Nameless Demon after buying it from the shop. The moment he drew the blade, it recognized him as its master. Thanks to that, all skills were temporarily boosted. Along with that came the downside. It drained the user's HP and MP. The intense feeling of pain made Subaru's body feel terrible. But immediately after, the level 1. Greed skill rejected the violent reaction of the Nameless Demon sword, slowly recovering his HP and MP, which helped Subaru breathe a little easier. Unexpectedly, after the effort to suppress the skill failed to reject the sword's negative reaction, Subaru's fatigue started to build up again. But he had anticipated all of this. After all, the level 1 skill was still too weak. The Nameless Demon sword drained the user's HP, and his power increased in direct proportion to the amount of HP lost. Subaru received this notification just as his body nearly collapsed from the pain. He wondered, "Is this really my limit?" Trying to control and endure the pain, Subaru bit his lip until it bled. Then, he used 10,000 credit points to upgrade his greed skill. It reached level 2, and it began to resist the sword's reaction much more violently and achieved some success. Although it was still painful to have his vitality drained, Subaru felt much better now. Now he could swing the sword at will instead of having to plant it on the ground just to barely stand. Besides that, his power was increasing even more. Success, he thought. Subaru said while still panting. Now it was time to test his strength. Thinking that, Subaru lunged forward. Throughout his training in room number 5, the owner had long since fallen asleep outside. It wasn't until Subaru walked past the counter, covered in wounds, that he groggily woke up. "Am I still dreaming, or am I hallucinating?" he muttered to himself, watching the boy's staggering figure as he walked away. Every step Subaru took left a trail of blood. He looked severely injured. The shopkeeper rubbed his eyes, trying to see clearly. Was that really the same kid who just went into room number 5? How could it be? It felt like it hadn't even been 10 minutes yet. Thinking this, he walked over to room number 5 and knocked. "Hey, you dreamer, you still in there?" When there was no answer, He pushed the door open himself, and the scene inside the training room left him absolutely horrified. It was a total battlefield. There wasn't a single spot left unmarked. Training equipment was scattered everywhere, proof of the sheer destructive force it had endured. "What the hell happened here?" the shopkeeper hissed, but no one could answer him. The next day, Subaru woke up at home, exhausted. He wasn't sure how long he had been asleep. He only felt his body was incredibly stiff. If he'd had a normal cursed sword yesterday in that training room would have been easier, but in exchange, his physical strength and endurance limit had definitely increased, and at the same time, Subaru had succeeded. He had successfully unlocked the sword's power. Looking at his current stats, level 10, strength and ability at 17 points, and stamina at 16 points, concentration at 18 points, and magic at 8 points. Normally, with stats like these, Subaru wouldn't even have been able to lift a magic sword, let alone wield it. The harmony between greed and the sword was perfect, meaning a combination with the set was also possible. Thinking of this, a satisfied smile spread across Subaru's face. But the next problem was that the greed skill level still needed to be upgraded, and the next level would cost 20,000 credits, while he only had 50 credits left to his name. "Am I always going to be this broke?" Subaru lamented. "I'm even having trouble managing my credits now. I'm really at a dead end." Just as he was sighing heavily, the pub outside suddenly became noisy. Subaru looked down. He saw a blonde guy wearing flashy cat ear headphones, holding a player device, walking by. "I'm here to explore floor 2, bringing back memories of my time as a newbie on this floor. Today's theme is, what are the trending items for young people? How much do they cost? Let's go." And then, he received a notification. "A player named Alexander has donated 1,000 credits to you." "Oh, I just got 1,000 credits from Alexander." The guy cheered in excitement, then poured an entire cup of coffee over his own head and started dancing in the middle of the street. Passers-by looked at him with disdain, while Subaru, up on the second floor of the pub, saw this and thought the guy must have gone insane. He went back to his own player device, searching online for ways to make money. Then, Subaru received information that these days, 1 out of every 3 players is a streamer. "Live broadcasting?" he muttered, intending to research this strange new concept. Subaru read more about live streaming and then realized that the strange actions of the guy who just passed by below were all part of streaming, earning credits through donations from viewers. "Huh?" Suddenly, someone called his name and headed toward him. "So you came too? Didn't expect to run into you here. You live around here?" Before Subaru could rummage through the original body's memories to figure out who this was, his body reacted negatively on its own. Because of that, he guessed that there wasn't a good relationship between himself and this newcomer. Seeing Subaru staring at him without answering, the other person continued, "Hey! Your friend is talking to you. Don't just ignore people. It feels like I'm talking to myself here." By now, the other guy had walked right up to his face. Subaru realized this wasn't just discomfort, it was fear. "Yeah, I'm here," he replied reluctantly. The person immediately pulled up a chair and sat down next to him. "Huh? What a surprise. I never expected a weakling like you to actually pass the newbie guidance test." His tone was filled with malice and contempt. "My old man thought a single goblin would be enough to kill you." At that moment, Subaru remembered. This bastard's name was Isaac. I had always bullied Hosoi Subaru in every way imaginable, and the boy, apart from asking why, never had a chance to fight back. The reason why Hosoi Subaru was such an eyesore to him was simply because his name made Isaac uncomfortable. Even though he shared a name with the hero in the memorial hall, he couldn't even keep up. You couldn't even do what you were assigned for the newbie training. You're just trying to prove that you weren't raised right and that you've got an empty head, huh? Subaru recalled an old conversation between the two, where Isaac didn't shy away from using the harshest words possible against Hosoi Subaru. "But the credits you gave me aren't enough." Back then, young Hosoi Subaru had replied while crying, but before he could even finish his sentence, he took a knee straight to the chest. Isaac didn't hold back at all. It was as if he were venting all his frustrations on poor Hosoi. "Don't talk back, you piece of trash!" he roared as Hosoi collapsed from the knee strike. "Oh, that suits you. Listen, from now on, that trash bin is your home. No matter what happens, don't you dare crawl out of it. If I ever catch you stepping out of there one more time, you know exactly what's going to happen." That's the reason why, when Subaru woke up, he found himself in a dumpster. I have to say, the original owner of this body was a total idiot. Why on earth would he just stand there and take a beating like that? Back to the present, Isaac started bragging about his achievements in the tutorial lobby, just to show off. I've already cleared up to the 20th stage. I even beat my father's record. Supervisor Huga even showered me with praise, saying I'm a true son of Reinhardt. You hear that? Subaru snapped out of his thoughts at the guy's words and regained his focus. Across from him, Isaac kept on rambling. I even learned a skill too. A reward for finishing the tutorial, a B-rank skill at that. It's the highest you can possibly get from that tutorial test. I'm thirsty now. Maybe I need a drink too. Yeah, feel free. Subaru finished the rest of the water in his cup and replied, I have to leave now. Oh, is that so? Well, when you get back, buy me a coffee. Anything cheap is fine, just grab whatever. Isaac kept talking. The implication in his words seemed clear enough, but Subaru just replied with a loud, huh? This attitude of his made Isaac incredibly annoyed. He clutched his face, trying to regulate his breathing as if fighting off his anger. Are you being serious? Still not listening like before? What's wrong with you lately? You keep staring at people and talking back. Did you get your soul swapped or something? When he let go, the look on his face had completely changed. It was terrifying. He'd actually said something ridiculous, but it hit the nail on the head. Subaru's soul actually had been swapped. That was why, this time, he had the guts to respond firmly. I don't have any credit. If you want coffee, buy it for yourself. As he spoke, he slowly stood up. Sit down, Isaac ordered, but Subaru didn't obey. He silently apologized to the original owner of this body, but Subaru really didn't have the time to deal with his personal issues. If he'd had the time, he would have given Isaac a real beating. But if the guy kept getting in his way from now on to seek revenge, well, that would be a different story. And Subaru really did get blocked. Isaac grabbed his left arm tightly, refusing to let him leave. His expression was twisted and ugly with rage now. Hey! Do you really want to see yourself get beaten to a pulp, is that it? His attitude made Subaru just as annoyed. His voice went cold and he responded with a threat. Let go if you still value your life. Isaac gripped his arm, blocking him. He glared at him, ignoring the gazes of the people around them. Isaac hissed, Don't get cocky, Subaru. His eyes bulged, filled with vicious, bloodshot veins. Subaru stood still, watching him without answering. He couldn't cause a scene in front of this crowd. Making a big deal out of it would only make things worse. Isaac thought he was intimidated by his presence. He burst into laughter. The hand gripping him slowly loosened, his voice dropping as if it were all just a joke. Don't be scared, I was just teasing you a little like last time, right? You're still as cowardly as you used to be. But his next words clearly showed his disdain for his skill. You probably barely scraped through the tutorial test. I know you're feeling proud of yourself, but... Isaac stopped. He stepped closer to Subaru, placed a hand on his shoulder and leaned into his ear to whisper, You piece of... trash! Do you really think you can beat me? If I wanted to, I could make you disappear. You know who my father is, right? Feeling he'd intimidated his target enough, he walked straight away, but not without throwing a final jab. Take care, my friend. Subaru watched his retreating back and glared. Friend, my foot. The system's mechanical voice rang out. There are two main ways for a player to grow. A blue building icon lit up. First, by clearing stages. By passing the tower's stages and receiving rewards, a player can grow stronger naturally. To enter the tower's stages, you must pay credits, but you are guaranteed safety in an electronic space, because those stages are created within it, even if you die. All you lose is your credit and your progress. A red dragon icon lit up. The second is hunting. By hunting monsters outside the safe zone or clearing dungeons on each floor, you can definitely grow that way. Your growth will be faster than going through stages, but hunting takes place in the real world, so if you die there, you will actually die. In a cave filled with old cliffs, the dungeon whispered. That was the reason players avoided hunting, because there was no reason to risk their lives. A drop of water fell onto Subaru's shoulder, but behind him lay the carcass of the monster that had been defeated. His sword was still embedded in its back. The safer it is, the slower the progress. Blood dripped from his nose. The monster's mouth and chest were drying up. The more dangerous it got, the faster it became. Subaru pulled out his phone to check. He scanned through the latest news and fell into deep thought. Seeing a name identical to his own, he couldn't help but be surprised. Narukami Subaru, Tier 4, Frost Today, 80,000 viewers. The streamer on the phone was waving at the audience. Hello everyone, is everyone watching? Today I'm going to attempt floor 3 of the dungeon. Deja vu? No, there was no doubt about it. This was the 8th time they'd done this. Just Subaru doing his daily routine. What's wrong with that? Subaru frowned, looking at the screen, the name Narukami Subaru and the mask. How many people are even using this name? A mission popped up on the screen. Narukami is a fool. Mission assigned. 20,000 credits for completion. Narukami Subaru, I'll play the fool for you. Thanks for the 20,000 credits. He couldn't believe his eyes. Such a massive amount of points. There are missions worth 20,000 credits? Before he could even collect his thoughts, a flurry of missions appeared on the stream. The prankster registered a mission. 10,000 credits upon completion. Because I'm lonely, registered a mission. Prove you can clear it, and I'll give you 5,000 credits. Safe asset registered a mission. I'll add another 15,000 credits, and I'm not being stingy. The streamer happily made a heart gesture at the screen. Thank you, everyone. I'll clear this dungeon for you all. 2 contrasting images flashed by. Narukami. Subaru was easily making money through live streaming, while Subaru was fighting monsters with his life on the line. Subaru couldn't help but let out a sigh. He's really making a fortune, isn't he? Remaining credit balance, 50. He stared silently at the screen, then put his phone away and stood up, letting out a breath after the exhausting fight. I went back to pull his sword out of the monster's chest, which lay on the ground. All right, one more job to go. Rapid footsteps echoed. Monsters were rushing toward him from nowhere. Their faces were savage, their fangs jagged and sharp. One reached out to grab him. An orc general had appeared. Subaru calmly watched the orcs slowly approaching. Orcs again? Even without the poison needle from last time, this time I've got something even better. The sword in his hand glowed with a deadly light, the nameless magic sword that absorbed HP. User's stats all increase based on HP absorbed. Greed level 2 resisted the recoil of the nameless magic sword. I'm busy, I don't have time. His voice was full of arrogance, devoid of any fear. User's HP and vitality are temporarily restored. He kicked the monster straight in the face. To waste on trash like you. The monster let out a pained cry and was kicked to the ground. The others saw this and rushed forward one by one. Subaru jumped up, dodging their attacks in a flash. Facing the monster's aggressive glares, he didn't hesitate to strike down. A notification appeared. The orc dungeon has been cleared. Subaru looked silently at the mask in his hand. So I have to wear this thing again. I finally understand how those streamers make money. Looking at his reflection in the mirror, his gaze seemed to harden with resolve. If I'm going to do this, he decisively put the mask on. I'll give it my all with what I'm good at. Well, looking at himself, he muttered. I am the real deal anyway. Subaru opened the door and stepped out, his footsteps steady and firm. The system notification rang out. Narukami Subaru has started a broadcast. In the office of the tower building. The desk was still empty. A coffee cup sat lonely on the table. Haska sat cross-legged, frowning at her phone. She gritted her teeth in anger, then kicked the table and shouted, making Segan, who was sitting next to her, jump. What the hell is this? She cursed continuously while looking at the screen. You idiot, you bastard, you trash, how can 5 people not even finish this? What is this garbage? Segan stood up, puzzled. I remember if the audio censorship kicks in, that's 1,000 points, right? That was almost at the threshold just now. So what happened? Who is it this time? Zekichi. Segan was stunned, unable to believe it. He asked back, Zekichi? Is that Narukami Subaru or another imposter? Who knows, it could be both. Because the original Narukami Subaru hasn't appeared yet, so if it matches, the strongest one must be the real one. Haska lamented, everyone and their mothers are pretending to be Narukami Subaru. Is live streaming dead now? Don't say such scary things. We're making money thanks to this live streaming service, aren't we? She retorted sharply, her face irritable. Is that so? They don't even know the rules of it. Even the players who risk their lives to climb the tower find it ridiculous. Haska cut her off, asking, Then why did you give up on the tower and come to a place like this? Haska calmed down upon hearing that. She lowered her voice. Because it's boring. She turned sharply and snapped at him. Besides, you gave up too, didn't you? If I were free, I would have found another talent. And shut your mouth. No, I gave up because I lacked the skills. Let's be quiet about what you were just saying first. He looked at her silently, saying nothing. Well, he had climbed the tower just so he could meet Narukami. Subaru for one day. So if he lost his purpose, he would lose his passion, wouldn't he? What is this? Haska suddenly exclaimed, "There's an incredible kid over here! Wait, don't tell me you found another weirdo?" She stared at her phone in surprise. A new Narukami Subaru cosplayer was live streaming with only one viewer. A teenager in simple clothes wearing a mask appeared on the screen. "This is ridiculous!" Segan slammed the table in frustration. "Is this what they call a talent search? What a joke! Why are you watching a second-floor broadcast, and with 0 viewers too?" "That's true, but—" Haska trailed off, hesitating. Her eyes were glued to the screen, not looking away for even a second. "Whenever I see someone wearing this mask, I can't help but hope." She then chuckled with delight. "And that 1,000 credits I just tipped, please forgive me." A notification sound pinged again. The second floor's challenge began. Subaru slowly stepped into the dungeon, finishing the tutorial dungeon and entering the main gate. Completion points would be awarded based on the monsters defeated. The second floor gate wasn't difficult enough to make him nervous, though he felt a bit awkward looking at the phone in his hand. But the feeling of being watched still put him under some pressure. A comment popped up. "Love money? What floor are you on?" 2 viewers now. The other user commented again. "First time, huh?" Subaru replied to this commenter, "Yes, this is my first challenge." The person on the other side of the screen kept commenting, reminding him, "Are you sure? Is it really okay to broadcast like this? If it's your first time, you don't really know your surroundings very well." Subaru was so engrossed in his phone that he walked deep into the dungeon. A one-eyed bat flew down to attack suddenly. He agilely grabbed it with his hand without a second thought and threw it hard against the ground. The system sound rang out immediately. "One-eyed bat defeated. 1 achievement point received. Is there a problem?" Subaru calmly walked deeper inside. He carefully observed his surroundings. The second floor beginner dungeon. Begin the first challenge. Conquer the beginner dungeon and exit. Achievement points would be awarded based on the number of monsters destroyed. The number of live stream viewers increased. One viewer commented, "Your reflexes are insane. Wait, everyone is streaming from the second floor now?" Subaru quietly read those comments. "Love money. I see them occasionally, but they give up quickly because their viewer count doesn't increase. Better not to get involved. Wait for other members to move together," Subaru answered them. "Hey, Love Money, thanks for the advice, but I can't do that." He watched the viewer count slowly climb. "I prefer handling everything alone." Love Money, alone, Vision knew. "Now, huh? Have you even researched anything?" "Why? He's done for. Tambourine Master, a beginner these days." Subaru kept walking, thinking to himself, "Just using the name Narukami Subaru brings viewers in without me needing to do anything." Another monster suddenly flew out. He nimbly drew the sword at his waist. Subaru slashed down the monster without a single wasted motion. "Now I plan to see how far I can go." His eyes were filled with determination. Mudwater monster defeated. Received 2 achievement points. Did anyone see that? Vision user, I think I saw a Mudwater monster, right? Successive one-eyed bats flew out, but Subaru easily defeated them with clean, elegant movements. The comment section fell into shock. Love Money. What was that just now? Tambourine Master, what is happening? What is? Viewers increased to 10. Emperor, something just happened. Subaru calmly sheathed his sword. Defeated one-eyed bat times 2. Received 2 achievement points. Defeated Mudwater monster times 2. Received achievement points. If everyone listens to the sound, you'll know what's behind him. The carcasses of the one-eyed bats and Mudwater monsters lay scattered. From which direction and how many are coming? Enzo76, yeah, I know that. Vision knew now. You're lying. You're not a beginner. I know that much. Melly Vertiaman, I could do that too. Why, hey Mr. Vertium, what level are you? Subaru stopped, looking a bit bewildered. If you guys already know, then I'll say what I'm thinking. But the commenters were incredibly lively. Enzo76, normally, people can't do that. Vision user, in the end, a player's talent is everything. Sandy486, stick to your content, I get it. Tambourine Master, trying to leech off Narukami's fame is a bit much. Subaru didn't bother with those comments anymore. He walked while thinking, it's still not enough. I want to accumulate as many achievement points as possible before I get out of here. Someone asked, Enzo76, have you been walking straight the whole time? The comments were overflowing with questions for a rookie like him. Melivertiaman, a real man walks forward silently. Sandy 46, didn't you research thoroughly? Tambourine Master, you'll get in trouble if you keep walking straight like that. As if realizing something, Subaru suddenly stopped. He looked up. Hundreds of one-eyed bats swarmed the ceiling of the dungeon. Their eyes flashed with a horrific, deadly light. They stared down at the prey below. The commenters seemed to see his end. Melivertiaman, see? Told you. Why? He's done for. Pigeon knew. Now, see you at the entrance. A notification rang out. Melanie Stream has created a quest. 100 prestige points if you can kill them all. Subaru focused, ignoring the comments. Is this a trap? Hansam, how rude. Why, haha. Subaru spoke up. Hey Melanie Stream, thanks for the 100 prestige points. The sound of a table being slammed echoed. Segan grabbed his head and screamed, What did I do wrong? I was doing fine until the 6th floor and now I'm failing here? Give me my money back. He turned to look at Haska. Sorry, I was doing too well. Is it my fault? Seeing Haska's serious expression, her eyes wide, Segan leaned back to look at her. What's wrong? What are you looking at? It's odd. It's like... Haska blurted out after watching what was happening on the phone. Something isn't right. It's not a large sum of money, really. I have the money to pay you back. She cut Segan off. If I touch gambling ever again, it wouldn't be like this. She looked at the phone. Narukami Subaru? Are you still watching that stream? Segan couldn't believe his eyes. There's no way! Subaru, on the other side of the screen, was relentlessly slaughtering monsters without a break. Oh my god, Hassam, okay. And you're telling me he's a newbie on the 2nd floor? Are you kidding me? Enzo 76, I'm starting to feel bad for the bats. Sunny 486, that's insane. How many attempts is this now? How many did he take down alone? Every time Subaru raises his sword, a whole group of monsters gets wiped out instantly. He doesn't even bother to stop like this. Panicson, your explanation doesn't explain anything. Maloney Stream, who told you he was a newbie? Stepping up to the Emperor, something's going on. It already happened. Is that all you can say? Subaru sheathed his sword. The whole process looked like he was just taking a stroll through the dungeon. I'm currently on the upper level, but I'm being taught by a level 2 newbie. Hassam OC, that sounds like, if you take a step forward, you can step. Communication is hard. A notification popped up, reminding him, class money, don't forget to claim your prestige points. Oh right, I forgot. Subaru hurriedly opened his phone to check. He didn't know what he was looking at, his body stiffening instantly. What's wrong, is he lagging? A moment later he scratched his head awkwardly. How do I claim these? The comments immediately flooded with fans surprised by his naivety. Sunny 486 and Maloney Stream. Aside from his skills, he's definitely a rookie streamer. The other player messaged him. Follow the guide for class money. Click the accept mission button at the top of the chat window. Mission complete. Received 100 prestige points. From Maloney Stream, you're very welcome. After receiving them, he held his sword and headed straight ahead. The next place will be the last. Current prestige, 150. Current achievements, 118. A scream echoed from the building. Haska was moved to tears, covering her face. This is bad. She could only blurt out, the one in trouble is you. She turned and frowned at Segan, who was covering his ears. What was that? Well, have you ever seen something like this before? You're overreacting. It's still just the 2nd floor. Haska stood up, annoyed. Fine, I'm overreacting, sorry. Her eyes sparkled with stars when she thought about what just happened. Where are you from? Earth, I am... Subaru Narukami from Earth? Could it be? This is fate? She spread her arms theatrically. Could it be the reincarnation of Subaru Narukami? You see it in those comics, the thing called isekai trope. This girl, once she talks about Subaru Narukami, she's like a lunatic. She held her phone and clutched her head. What should I do? I'm so dizzy. Hey, Segan, if I close my eyes now? Segan immediately cut off her overflowing emotions. No. What? Why not? That's not it. Are you thinking about scouting him? Haska answered firmly. That's right. He has some bright spots, but he's still a lone newbie streamer. I know that. He doesn't seem to care much. What do you know? If we tell the manager, we'll get scolded again. And just a second ago you were only gambling. Why are you so serious now? Haska pouted, looking at the screen, ignoring him. Just you wait and see. Subaru's masked face reflected in her eyes. On the other side, Subaru bumped into a giant wall. He reached out to touch the wall. This is it. The end of the dungeon. The door creaked after he pushed it, and it swung open, leading to a path ahead. And here, a giant, hairy monster was tied up inside. Who are you? It seemed the monster was fast asleep. It hadn't realized he was there. Warwolf Greg. Every time you see him, you can feel the pressure. It's insane. Chocopot. Please keep it a secret that I struggled with this guy for 8 attempts. He didn't let me pass on the first try, which made me think it was a bug, Subaru whispered. He listened in silence as the notification chimed. Received acknowledgement from the Warwolf. Passing through the gate allows you to continue the challenge. Hearing that, he slowly stepped through the gate. The Warwolf isn't a monster created for hunting. It's the gatekeeper. It evaluates the strength of players conquering the newbie dungeon and assesses whether they can proceed. Subaru immediately checked his screen. He was stunned for a moment. Huh? 3,000 prestige points? Subaru stood still in front of the Warwolf. Another loser has appeared. Perhaps he didn't intend to give them away. Tambourine Master announced, tightening the budget, vision new now. Furthermore, this isn't a monster to be killed. The Warwolf's fur twitched slightly. Its closed eyes suddenly trembled. It woke up and looked toward him. Warwolf. Greg, the second-floor gatekeeper. The Warwolf's eyes radiated a judgmental gaze. A player, huh? Subaru immediately swung his sword and lunged. A voice rang out in his head. Subaru, you're truly skilled. Segan had marveled at his talent, because even when he changed the direction of his sword halfway through, his breath and gaze didn't waver. At that moment, Subaru just stood still, contemplating those words. Sword trajectory, huh? From the start, it looked like you only struck with a single slash. Were you calculating the flexible movements of the enemy and even planned your actions long ago? Hearing that, he rested his chin in his hand, thinking. Then he turned with a blank expression. But I really didn't think about much at all. Such an annoying guy. He asked back, would it be better if I couldn't do that? Normally you couldn't. Now in front of Greg you seem to have figured it out. Segan also thought it was strange, right? The important thing in communication is exchanging eye contact and conveying everything instantly. When taking down a group of one-eyed bats at once, you shouldn't think about aiming at each eye individually. He remembered the habits of the bats. One-eyed bats always attack while thrusting their heads forward, so the more of them there are, the bigger the openings they create. Subaru stood still, watching the Warwolf. Let the Warwolf acknowledge you. Rex looked at his lonely figure. Alone? It wondered, did you really come alone? Can't you tell by looking? Rex approached and sniffed him. You are truly an interesting guy. I smell the scent of a great warrior on you. Jared. The scent of a great warrior, huh? Faust, 55. And yet you say I stink. Buried it? It smells like a goblin's corpse to me. Subaru stayed silent as he stared at it. The Wolfkin warriors could smell that distinct scent. Red nodded thoughtfully. It's not just the body odor. They see right through a person's true nature. You have the qualities required to pass through this place. It pointed ahead. The test is over. You may go. Mandoku, man, what's wrong with this guy? Panic Run wondered. Turns out there are cases like this, huh? Subaru scratched his head. Even in his past life, something like this had never happened. What a pity. My target is you, the Warwolf asked back suddenly. Me? Not the gate behind me? Subaru nodded firmly. Yeah, someone told me to kill you. Greg sighed at that. As expected of a man who possesses the soul of a great warrior. Drops of water pooled on the leaves of the potted plant, reaching up to bathe in the sunlight. In the office, Haska and Segan stood before a man's desk. John was typing away continuously. About this, he asked back, how many viewers does that streamer have? After Tan Entertainment's manager, John, spoke, Segan replied hesitantly. About 20, sir. Haska cut in, her face beaming. It's over 30 now! I won't ask you again, you idiots. John looked as if he'd just heard a ridiculous story. Are you guys kidding me? His voice rang out, exposing them both. You think I don't know you're placing bets during work hours? And then what? I told you to find someone. You promised and you bring me someone with 20 viewers? Haska refused to give up, reasserting, 30, that's not the point. John pointed at her sarcastically. Haska, why don't you stream yourself? You've got the skills, and you definitely have fans. The manager looked intently at his phone, cutting her off. I just looked. It's already past 40. Are you even listening to me? On the other side of the screen, Subaru was in a combat stance. Red raised its sharp claws. He gripped the sword hilt. Don't think about anything else. The sword was drawn instantly. Nameless Demon Sword. Absorbs the user's mana. All stats increase in proportion to the stamina consumed. Stay calm. His eyes flashed with determination. Greed level 2. Cancels the side effects of the Nameless Demon Sword. Even if it's your first time, the werewolf lunged toward him. Just do as you always do. Subaru held out his sword to block the attack. Greg swung his other hand. Subaru gripped the sword with both hands to brace himself. He was pushed back by the sheer force. Greg rushed in, attacking relentlessly. He's strong. Subaru realized immediately that trying to block by force was impossible. But Red didn't hold back his praise. A true warrior indeed. A split second later, it unleashed another blow, fast as lightning. Red had closed the distance. But you are not on my level. Subaru gripped his sword tight. I had to parry that critical strike again. Miss Smith, defensive tactics are only for hired goons. This probably won't work. 3-3, but still dangerous. Proper. None. He's absurdly strong. The comments became increasingly heated. Corporate. Maybe try 2 or 3 times? Pisa. The guy who issued this quest will regret it. He's going to complete it. ZZZ, that's going to be really tough. Subaru was cornered against the wall. Sometimes there are more effective ways than using raw strength. He panted heavily. You've piqued my interest, warrior. Red raised its claws to deliver the finishing blow. Let's end this. A loud boom echoed. I should be the one saying that? Subaru, who knows when, had slid right in front of Red. Your attacks are too predictable. As he finished his sentence, he slashed straight across its chest. Die. Red let out a cry of pain. Subaru leaped up and landed another blow. The lightning-fast movements made the viewers hold their breath. Right after, the sword was sheathed. Red groaned in pain, but still offered his praise. Magnificent warrior. Then, it collapsed. Subaru walked away without looking back. He had defeated the werewolf. Notifications flooded the screen. Level up to 12. Strength +2, Agility +1, Focus +1, Magic Power +2. Received 500 achievement points. Blood dripped down to his feet. The viewers were completely stunned by what had just happened. Do08. Wait, did he really beat him? Jarud. He's standing there dead? Heavy duty. This stream is sick. Furikake. Isn't this his first attempt? 3-3-E. Maybe. Subaru panted after the battle. He defeated him. Mat 7. Solo? Ecop 5. Hats off. The person who gave this quest. Enzu 76. They probably never thought he could actually do it. Viewers, 56 people. He opened his phone to check the quest completion rewards. Received 3,000 reputation points from Boss FS. I'll put it to good use, Boss FS. Then, the system chime sounded. Current reputation, 3,150. Current achievement points, 618. A gate opened. Behind it was a blinding light. Subaru walked forward steadily. He realized something. Vbex me. Something is enraged. The notifications displayed chaotically before his eyes. He stood still, staring at them. Away 13. Are you kidding me? Panic run. There have only been 16 known cases so far, right? Is this level 6? A new quest appeared. The number of choices is proportional to the player's talent. Will you accept the lightning trial? Azazel. That's the spirit. World down, naturally. Amumu. If he doesn't choose the lightning trial here, he should change his name. Subaru replied without thinking. I choose it. A notification rang out. Lightning trial selected. His silhouette gradually vanished into the light. On the other side of the screen, 3 pairs of eyes were glued to him. John grabbed Segan and jumped up in excitement. That's it! Haska pointed at the phone, overjoyed. He did it! There are 60 people now, what do you think? Has there ever been a streamer whose viewership grew this fast? And normally, quests only offer at most 2 or 3 choices, but he had 13. John, at this point, had to agree with her. It truly is impressive to defeat a werewolf. I heard he's never been defeated, but John is still a bit hesitant. Still, he's just a newcomer streamer on the second floor with a lot to prove. Haska turns to him and asks, Manager, do you want to make a bet with me? A bet? She smiles and proposes a wager that leaves Segan speechless. If he fails the lightning challenge, Segan and I will work for a fixed salary for 5 years. But if he succeeds, you'll sign a contract with him without any complaints. Segan lunges forward, crying out, wait, why me too? Hold on, I don't even know this guy. John laughs triumphantly and asks, even if he makes it to the challenge, do you really think he has a chance? The only player who ever mastered the lightning was Subaru Narukami. Haska is completely confident in her choice. You never know until you try, right? John doesn't hesitate to accept. Fine, I'll take that bet, I don't... Meanwhile, Subaru has arrived at the location of the next challenge. Just as he's about to think it over, a voice echoes, Look out! A figure comes rushing straight at him. They both tumble to the side, and a massive explosion goes off behind them. A giant monster appears before his eyes. The man shouts at him, What are you dazing off for? Are you trying to die? Subaru stares, stunned at the monster. A giant fragment? Why is this guy here? The giant swings its club again, attacking. The chat explodes instantly. What is going on here? Isn't this the lightning challenge? Exactly, says Orbit. That's a monster from the giant tribe. Why is it appearing like that? Subaru is just as surprised. A boss-level monster. It was supposed to appear in the second part of the challenge. The monster grinds its teeth and strikes. Something has changed because I beat the red, he thinks. It slams its club into the ground, shattering it. Subaru nimbly dodges the blow and prepares to draw his sword. It's just big. Its structure is far inferior to the red. Luckily, I knew this beforehand. And after I got into trouble saving you, run! He prepares to strike. I have to finish this quickly, before anyone interferes. The demon sword Nameless absorbs the user's blood, increasing all stats proportional to the amount consumed. Greed level 2. Nullify the side effects of the demon sword Nameless. The monster lunges again. Subaru nimbly takes momentum and jumps to dodge the hit. He immediately lands on a rock and gains momentum. He launches himself upward. The monster looks up, stunned. Subaru lands right behind its neck and drives the sword into its nape. Blood sprays out as it screams in pain. With a calm expression, he lifts his sword again. You're too noisy. Be quiet for the rest of your life. This time, it only manages a moan before collapsing. The monster's eyes go lifeless as it slumps to the ground. You have defeated the giant fragment. You have completed Phase 4. Beep whistle. Phase 4. Stats increase rapidly. Level 13. Strength +1. Agility +1. Subaru slowly stands up. Health +1. Magic power +1. You have received 4,000 achievement points. Consecutive rewards follow. You have received the item, Giant's Heart. You have received the item, Lightning Thunder Faulkner. Everyone watches, unable to believe their eyes, mouths agape. 4,000 points? And rewards from Phase 1 to Phase 4 all at once? So generous. Perfect conquest from Phase 1. I runs over to Subaru. You are Hajiwara? Wait, isn't that Faulkner? Hey, he's talking history now. Everyone would be on guard if something like this suddenly appeared in Phase 4. Yeah, everyone would panic. Faulkner asks in astonishment. Who the heck are you? Can't you see it? Subaru's voice echoes slowly. I'm here to defeat the giants. In a quiet, peaceful little town where people bustle back and forth, Subaru sits silently in a room. He stares at his phone. Fans are flooding the chat. Show us the items! Show us! Should I show them? I bet it's at least magic rank. Not just magic, maybe it's rare. Subaru comfortably agrees. I'm curious too, so let's take a look. He pulls out a pitch-black ring set with a stone as red as blood. Giant's Heart, rare rank, accessory type, health +2. A ring carved from a giant's heart, enhances health and recovery. He beams with joy. Accessories are very precious. It increases health. I like this effect. A black armor set also appears. Just in time, I needed a set of armor. Lightning Thunder, rare rank. Armor type, defense +5. The armor is imbued with the power of lightning. Can use Lightning Thunder once a day. Neutralizes negative status effects. Remaining uses, 3. Everyone is in awe of his rewards. Awesome! Even after subtracting the equipment restrictions, it looks like it can be used up to the 5th floor. The giant's heart is a lifelong item. The base value is whatever you ask for. Subaru slowly puts on the armor. Narukami Noa has registered a quest. 5,000 reputation points if you master the lightning. Do your best. He says thank you. Thank you, Narukami Noa. Everyone seems very excited about his potential. Imban has registered a quest. I will give 5,000 points for a similar quest. Villa Inn has registered a quest. 3,000 points for a similar quest. Esset has registered a quest. Trust and 7,000 reputation points. Subaru feels empowered. Thank you all. I will definitely show everyone my true strength. He thinks to himself, so many people waiting for lightning magic, huh? He dresses neatly, preparing to go out. He might be a more important existence than he thinks. A knock on the door sounds. Come in. Jimmy? Chris? Just then, black armor eavesdrops from behind the door. It can't be wrong. Pigeon? Handle? These two also register a quest. 2 men slowly enter. Faulkner introduces the blonde boy beside him. Sorry for keeping you waiting. This is the village knight leader, Sir Pilius. Faulkner slowly explains to him, recently, giant attacks have been occurring frequently. Our knights have to guard 24 hours a day, fully equipped. Everyone outside has a tense expression because of their safety. We've asked villagers to limit unnecessary travel. He is also happy to meet him. I didn't expect that I would meet an outsider at a time like this. Peleus stepped forward to greet me. I heard you protected the village while I was away. On behalf of the villagers, thank you. Subaru humbly replied, No, I just did what was obvious, Peleus. You must evaluate the opponent, the face of this village, and be a brave knight fighting against the giant race tomorrow during this reconnaissance. We have discovered the chieftain of the giant race, Belios recounted calmly. We intended to risk our lives to corner them. Both of them bowed their heads down to beg. Please forgive the loss. I beg you to save our village. Subaru didn't answer immediately. He silently observed as the viewers increased more and more. Blacksmith Grandma! Peleus, don't die! Peleus! Damon, is he going to die? Ship, don't spoil it anymore. Subaru stood stunned, lost in thought based on his memories. Surely in the next scene, the painful image appeared in his mind. Peleus would die. He caught Peleus. Peleus, lift your head up. He reached out his hand, agreeing, Understood. I will cooperate. He smiled, happily shaking his hand. Thank you so much. The survival round 5 began. The sunset fell, and the soldiers started preparing for battle. Subaru glanced at his phone, thinking. Because the number of viewers increased, the chat stream ran faster and faster. It was impossible to interact. Peleus suddenly signaled to stop. Falcon pointed at a giant figure ahead. That is it, Peleus affirmed. The chieftain of the giants. He stepped forward, taking his shield. I will attract his attention. You, benefactor, attack him from behind. Subaru stepped forward and grabbed his shoulder to stop him. Wait, Peleus. He turned his head, looking at him, confused. That thing. The ground beneath their feet suddenly shook violently. Everyone panicked, not understanding what was happening. Subaru let out a statement. It's not human. The eyes of Vaden, under the shaking, suddenly opened wide. The giants from somewhere suddenly appeared one after another. They rushed over with fierce expressions. Peleus was shocked, unable to believe his eyes. Why? A giant grabbed a soldier and held him up. Stop! A loud scream rang out. Save him! Before their wide-open eyes, the giant used his bare hands to tear the soldier into 2 pieces. It grinned hideously, blood spraying out. Peleus quickly turned back, ordering, Everyone, back to the foot of the mountain now! Hurry! The giants roared with a deafening sound. One grabbed a soldier lying on the ground. Seeing that, a soldier turned back, screaming in tears, Stop! Several people around quickly pulled him back to stop him. Joe-chan and Belios didn't even have time to think. He screamed, This is an order! Everyone run! He said, choking back his breath. Think about your families at home and the village. This is not the end. We will start over. Everyone ran for their lives. I will entrust the leading of Falcon to you. Belios looked back at Subaru, surprised. He shouted loudly when he saw him draw his sword, intending to rush forward. "You two, run! Please rebuild the Night Order and avenge us against the giants." But Subaru wasn't trembling in the slightest. "I should be the one saying that." Peleus couldn't understand. "You're not planning to run away?" "What do you mean?" Subaru stepped forward, leaving Peleus behind. "If you're here, I can't move comfortably. If you insist on refusing, both of us will die here." I was defiant, refusing to run, but abandoning an outsider and running away, I can't do it. "Don't make me say it twice." Hearing that, Peleus hurriedly ran to find rescuers. "Then I will go gather the warriors, if you can hold out until then." "Thank you." He turned his head back to look at the small teenager amidst the giants. "I owe you my life. Take care." The fierce giants rushed forward simultaneously. He didn't hesitate either, but ran towards them, holding his sword. He screamed, swinging the sword in his hand up, "I am your opponent!" As fast as lightning, he approached a giant. The sword in his hand cut across its leg. Just hearing a roar, that giant collapsed. Defeated the giant's shadow. Obtained 20 achievement points. Subaru continued to advance. Even if it was a test, he wasn't used to being left alone. A loud noise echoed from the forest. Peleus slowed down slightly. He frowned and looked back, as if determined. He gritted his teeth. "Over there." Subaru raised his head, staring at the giants. No one in the chat was surprised. "Doesn't it look like a fight?" "Master, that is definitely suicide. There are too many of them." "Lenfro, you just need to survive. Right? Why did you chase the others away?" 0186514. The score changes based on the number of surviving warriors. Turns out it's not just survival. This game is too impossible. No one understood what Subaru was planning, including Peleus, who was destined to die. "If I do this, I can save everyone." The giants rushed forward once again. One creature raised its hand to punch down. He nimbly dodged. Defeated the giant's shadow. Obtained 10 achievement points. The giants rushed in like crazy, but he easily brought them down. Fallen. Defeated the giant's shadow. Obtained 10 achievement points. Subaru thought while fighting. The nameless demon sword absorbs the user's mana. All stats increase corresponding to the amount of mana. Consumed. If I take them down one by one, it's not difficult. His eyes were filled with determination. The problem is how long I can borrow the power of the demon sword. Here, consecutive sword slashes were swung down. I need to ensure my vision and find the boss. Another giant was taken down. He leaped nimbly over their heads. Below, the giants looked up at his figure and growled. One raised its hand, intending to grab him. Subaru kicked it straight in the face, then continued to kick the faces of the others while moving. The viewers were also amazed. "Down up! A wrong move and you're dead instantly!" ASF 1234, it's supposed to be that combat is not Subaru's forte. "Narukami, get out, get out!" He heard the system sound. Greed level 2. Cancel the side effects of the nameless demon sword. Stamina and mental strength of the user have recovered. There is a change in stamina consumption. Equipment really makes a difference. His eyes scanned once. I need to quickly find the boss before hitting the limit. A giant with a white beard loomed in the crowd. There he is. It grinned maliciously, looking at him. He flew toward it. In its hand, it held a giant blade. Subaru also understood that if he didn't destroy it in one blow, I'm a goner. Vaden also raised his stone blade. Subaru had no choice but to gather all his strength and rush forward, praying, "Please let it succeed." His fingers slowly pointed, and a yellow electrical current enveloped his body. Lightning strike! That stream of light blinded the surrounding giants. Thunder echoed throughout the battlefield. They cried out in pain, holding their heads, and even dropped their weapons. Vaden also didn't expect his shocking power. He shouted, "Human!" taking advantage of him looking down. He vaulted behind the monster's head. The nameless demon sword absorbed the user's mana. With both hands, he gripped the hilt tight, raised it high, and with all his might, drove it deep into the back of Paidan's neck. Blood sprayed out. Paidan's mouth hung open, frozen in place. Then, he tilted his head back and let out a painful roar before collapsing to the ground, dead. The giant seed had been defeated. The notification chime rang out repeatedly. Survival Stage 5 completed. Exceptional achievement earned. Level up. Strength increased by 2. Agility increased by 2. Stamina increased by 2. Magic increased by 1. Subaru pulled his sword out and jumped down. Has anyone ever actually beaten him before? 123.789. No way. How did he beat him? 123.789. That wasn't supposed to be a stage like that. When did the finishing opportunity even appear? Everyone was shocked by the scene. Apple, Anna, petting. He defeated something that wasn't supposed to be beatable. What a troublemaker. Black and white mage, I really hate my own pathetic weak body. If this were a main character in a story, this would be the cool ending. Dark clouds rolled in from nowhere, shrouding the sky. One by one, the giants clutched their heads in pain. Subaru, he looked at the sword in his hand. Level 2 greed failed to neutralize the nameless demon sword. He hurried away from the spot. Right, even if I clear this stage, the giants turned back to look at him. The monsters won't disappear until the test ends. I was surrounded by them. I never expected the mechanism I used to my advantage would now be the thing making my life miserable. He breathed heavily. This is bad. My strength, it's fading. The giants lunged forward one after another. High up in the dark, gloomy sky, thin rays of light wove through the dark clouds, slowly illuminating the scene. Subaru looked up in surprise. A golden beam of light shot straight down from above. The sunlight pierced through the tree canopy, casting light onto the ground below. Those rays made the trees stand out in vivid color. In the middle of the forest stood a small wooden house. On the porch sat a figure. Rena was focused intently on the handheld gaming console in her hands. Daisy G walked out from inside. He approached and opened the conversation. What are you doing in a place like this? Rena didn't even look at him as she replied, The weather is nice, isn't it? The air is fresh, too. She continued her observation. This is something you can only enjoy right now, in this moment. Daisy G finally looked up, assessing the situation. It's almost time, huh? Rena agreed calmly. At most, 1 year. His expression turned pensive as he continued. It's time to end everything. Sig sighed while looking at Rena. You really are something else. Distracted while we're talking about something serious. He leaned in, curious. What are you watching so intently? Rena replied calmly. This? Currently he's being called Subaru Narukami. Upon hearing the name, Sig raised his voice in disbelief. Subaru? Did you just say Subaru? Seeing his reaction, Rena sighed and explained, Obviously not that Subaru. She continued, He just swiped the name. Subaru Narukami, a streamer currently attempting the second trial. On the screen, many viewer comments appeared. Subaru Narukami fan. His movements are extraordinary. SS rank. And they say this guy is a beginner? Rena murmured, adding, You know him too, don't you? She presented a hypothetical, looking up at Sig. If Subaru survives that situation, Kazuki Kyojuro, he would have been erased from this tower long ago. He watched her, then asked, What do you mean by that? When he looked up, her expression looked like she was about to cry. Subaru is dead. You need to accept that truth. However, Sig turned and walked away with a warning, Don't talk about that anymore. Rena called after him helplessly, Sig, are you still planning to hide in that kid's shadow for how much longer? Sig turned his head, frowning, questioning her in return. And what about you? I even snatched the game console from her hand. That's why you get caught up in these things, Rena weakly defended herself. I was just killing time. But then, the very next second, she gasped when she saw something. Huh? Sig watched the console, confused. What now? This time it was his turn to be surprised. That is, because on that side, a pair of feet were planted firmly on the ground. The next second, he launched an attack that affected the monsters in front of him. They growled menacingly. Watching their prey with extreme caution, Subaru stood his ground as a notification appeared before him. The content read, Skill Lightning acquired. 2,000 achievement points. Continue to Trial 2? Move to the next floor? The viewers were completely stunned. ABC 123. Wait, really? SS rank? Subaru Narukami fan. This is insane. Imban. So that's how you get it. They were constantly talking about him. Subaru Narukami. Fan. You're asking how to get lightning? Just defeat the giant tribe boss. SS rank. Why isn't Subaru Narukami saying anything? That makes sense. Imban. Even if I told you guys you couldn't do it anyway. Subaru read the comments and thought to himself, no, usually this isn't something I could receive here. The skill information was displayed in detail. Lightning, A+ rank. Skill type, level 1. Consumes stamina and mana to wield the power of lightning. Can be upgraded by adding lightning fragments. He observed the monsters in front of him and thought to himself, "At least I didn't die. That's enough for now." The challenge stopping right at that moment had truly saved him. Immediately after, a series of notifications appeared together. Quest complete. Subaru Narukami fan donated 5,000 reputation points. Quest complete. Imban donated 5,000 reputation points. Quest complete. SS rank donated 7,000 reputation points. Reading this, he finally replied, "Thank you, everyone." A notification board appeared before him with the text, "Reputation points, 20,150. Subaru replied calmly, "I did say that when I receive gifts, I would perform a show to say thank you." The challenge continues. The monsters on this side are all growling in unison. A spark flashes in Subaru's eyes as he makes his declaration, "I'll show you all," having just spent 20,000 reputation points. Abyssal Lightning, Level 2. As it levels up, the effect of the Level 3 skill appears, neutralizing the side effects of the lightning. Subaru calculates silently. He wants to let it flow through his entire body, but when he moves his hand, the skill's effect follows, channeling lightning into his palm. A declaration is made, "All of you." At this moment, the swarm of enemies charges toward Subaru. They target him for the attack. Subaru's hand tightens around his weapon, and he activates the skill, channeling lightning into his nameless demon sword. He swings the blade down while wondering to himself, "Should I take them all out at once, just like back then?" A tremendously powerful slash is unleashed, causing the bodies of the monsters to be sliced in two. They were taken down before they could even react. After unleashing the move, Subaru stands still, gasping for breath, calculating in his head. "Damn it! I meant to conserve my strength." Looking back at the pile of monsters lying scattered on the ground, Subaru remarks, "I misjudged the power consumption." From behind, the figures of a group of people appear. Led by Peleus, they are cautiously moving forward, but in the next second, Peleus is completely taken by surprise. "Huh?" He sprints toward Subaru, shouting loudly, "Our savior!" Subaru slowly turns his head to look at the other, his eyes unable to hide his exhaustion. Seeing the concern on Peleus's face, he mutters, "What a fool, honestly." Subaru's consciousness begins to fade. He really has reached his limit. Meanwhile, on the other side, information has arrived quickly. In a room with 3 people present, Segan speaks up with a bewildered expression. "Do we really have to go this far?" John replies slowly, "Don't ask me. I don't understand the way a woman thinks." Meanwhile, Haska clutches her head in frustration. "This is bad." Her face is already flushed bright red with embarrassment. "What should I do?" Haska mutters to herself, blaming her own actions. "Maybe I sounded too cold? What if it just looked like a work message? I should have added more emojis." Just then, Daesung chimes in. "Sorry, but to me it just looked like a work text. Are you one of those crazy fans?" John agrees. "Honestly, I thought you wanted to be a manager for a streamer." Hearing this, Haska explains, somewhat piqued. "But before becoming a manager, I'm a hardcore fan. Who can blame me?" She looks at the others and adds, "And besides, I already said it, didn't I, boss?" A firm statement has been made. The lightning that only Subaru Narukami has achieved. In this regard, it has become a unique lightning reserved only for Subaru Narukami and his group. Sagan, in hearing this, reluctantly agrees, "Somehow I've managed to secure my salary." John chuckles and remarks, "No wonder no one else could obtain it. He's definitely worth watching." Segan notices his phone. "Boss?" He begins to explain, "It looks like Subaru Narukami has read the message." But Haska's face turns sour when she hears the next part. He just read it. Watching her, Segan and John think, "We're doomed." An exclamation rings out in the room filled with figurines. "What?" The figure sitting in front of the computer monitor adds, "Let's get started, shall we?" A streamer who specializes in analyzing player matches starts talking about what has been applied. Using his sharp insight and knowledge, he has defeated countless opponents and built a solid reputation for himself. That person's name is Hawkeye. He adds, he has shown a keen ability to analyze by watching clips of different players. Among them is Kurokawa Amon, who just joined the Blue District. The Future of the Blue District, a comprehensive analysis of Kurokawa Amon. A dark horse has appeared. climbing the tower at a dizzying speed. Some even call him the second Narukami. It's time for Hawkeye to make his move. Furthermore, he mentions Kazuki Kyojiro, a former member of the Blue Eyes. Could he become the strongest man? Kazuki Kyojiro of the Blue District. Kazuki Kyojiro is now a player representing Earth. The pressure on his shoulders must be immense, but today I want to examine his skills in more detail. Of course, the intergenerational legend, Narukami Subaru, is no exception. Regardless of what people say, the lightning belongs to this man, Subaru Narukami. When you think of a player at a level far superior to the rest, who comes to your mind? Most of you are probably thinking of this man right now. That's right, Subaru Narukami. Just now, as the live broadcast starts, a voice rings out, "Welcome, everyone! Hello, I am Hawkeye. Thank you all for tuning in today. Today, we at Hawkeye's channel will focus on dissecting the hottest player right now, the Golden Nobility, Subaru Narukami. Is he back already? The hottie in room 503? That's not the original. Bank equation, isn't he still on the second floor? So soon? Want to secure profit? Turns out there are a lot of Subaru Narukamis. New Subaru? Salary thief, are you out of ideas? Hawkeye is washed up. His hands move with incredible dexterity on the computer mouse. Now don't ruin the mood right from the start. The screen opens and Hawkeye continues his commentary. This is insane. The comment section is noisy with remarks. Reward thief, what's wrong with this guy? Razor? And he's a newbie? 3 versus 400? This is a completely different level from the Gacha God. Cookie Zero is overrated? All sorts of vocabulary are being used to evaluate this recording. He controlled his skills and channeled exactly what was necessary into his sword, not wasting a single bit of power. The viewers are completely overwhelmed. Golden Nobility? Is that even possible? Remote Iceland, what do you mean? Nolus Bart, am I the only one who doesn't understand? West 19, bro, I get it. Don't understand. Doramif, one word, God. Bubblegum, if this is real, it's truly insane. Hawkeye thinks to himself. The control and delicate technique, the focus that makes that possible, and the judgment to use it exactly when needed. He truly didn't make a single mistake throughout this entire battle. Where the heck did this monster come from? I bet half of you don't even understand what you're watching, Hawkeye playfully adds one more remark. This guy is definitely going to be a big deal. I plan to keep following his streams during the upcoming Hawkeye broadcasts. The comment section is always buzzing. Is there no conclusion for Moken SJ today? Reading up to here, Hawkeye just added another line. That's right, I forgot to mention one of his comments. He sounded incredibly dangerous when he made a direct statement about control levels. He might even be better than Narukami in his prime. Elsewhere, Subaru wakes up from a long sleep. He practically bolts upright after receiving a system notification. Stage 6 is approaching. Fatigue has completely dissipated. Do you want to postpone the challenge? Speaking of which, 2 conditions must be met to temporarily suspend the challenge you must complete. The previous stage, the next stage, hasn't started yet, and the fatigue level must be 0. In other words, you have to be fully recovered. Subaru scratches his head, silently remarking, My fatigue level is 0, but my mind is still tired. Maybe I should pause the challenge for a while. It was then that he looked at the device in his hand. A voice was uttered. Thanks everyone for watching today. 5 poison with poison? Huh? Shutting down the stream? 1 scoop of protein. So it was just a sleep stream. Screaming squid, add more. Subaru looks at the screen and has to wonder to himself, since when did my viewer count get so high? He speaks to his fans, I'm sorry, but the next stream will start the day after tomorrow. I'll take a day off. After that, a notification appears followed by a screen of white smoke. Subaru Narukami has ended the live stream. Subaru is transported to another area. He looks around and starts to confirm his situation, exploring the screen. Subaru looks ahead when he sees the door. A notification and tutorial appear before him. Important. After that entertainment sends to you, Subaru Narukami. Thank you for your efforts. I am Hasuka from the management team of After That Entertainment. Please confirm the message we sent to you, okay? Our company fully supports streamers and ensures the highest revenue share in the industry. Reading this, he can't help but wonder, Saturn? The name makes Subaru frown, cautiously repeating it. Back at that cafe, Subaru sits at a table alone, still seriously pondering what is in front of him. I is reading information about that place. Saturn Entertainment, a large MCN company specializing in managing streamers. One of the fastest-growing companies thanks to heavy investment and support for streamers. A remark is made, the world has certainly changed. Now even companies like this exist. Subaru's gaze becomes more pensive, and it's also a big company. Among MCN companies in the entertainment sector, it's top tier. Another piece of information is revealed as Subaru continues to read below. Streamer Hawkeye is affiliated with Saturn. Fast as a shooting star, this guy Narukami has appeared, and in terms of controllability alone, he might have surpassed the original Origami Warrior. Hawkeye's next target is Aha Body. Tiger, this guy just talks nonsense. Potbelly nonsense? As a commentator, you're in the top tier too. West, everyone quickly forgets their roots and starts advertising everywhere. Hinori, he seriously praised that person. To Echo, to Hawkeye, who is famous for being extremely strict. Hawkeye's appearance is recalled by Subaru almost immediately. Hawkeye? So he's also a streamer for Saturn? A commentator famous for his straightforward, unfiltered style, huh? The comment section is very lively. His expression can't hide his excitement. I admit, he has a great eye for people. Outside, at this moment, there is someone's silhouette. A man has also stopped in front of this cafe. The device in his hand is playing Hawkeye's remark. Regarding control alone, he might even be better than Narukami in his prime. Isaac mutters as if responding to that statement. Don't kid me, he just reached the second floor. However, his face clearly shows hostility. Hawkeye, what? Once I climb up there, I'll gouge out their eyes. Isaac furiously stomps his foot on the ground. Damn it! He enters the cafe with an extremely unpleasant attitude. My mood is ruined first thing in the morning. Unexpectedly, as soon as he steps inside, Isaac wears an incredibly ugly smile. He immediately notices Subaru sitting alone. Am I just unlucky today? Everywhere I go. You are still focused on your phone and don't notice this guy's appearance at all. Isaac slowly approaches Subaru's spot. Without a word, he knocks over the glass of water on his table. Hot water spills, making Subaru startle and stand up. Hot! After that, he is completely taken by surprise because of the incredibly sarcastic tone of Isaac that rings out. Sorry. He smirks, continuing to speak. Subaru, huh? Accompanied by a not-so-friendly comment. We've been running into each other a lot lately, haven't we? The second floor is truly small. Subaru hears the voice but doesn't respond, focusing only on his phone. However, the other guy has no intention of stopping his provocation. Want me to compensate you for the coffee? You're always broke, so that would be... Unexpectedly, when Subaru brushes past and ignores him, Isaac is completely enraged. He growls threateningly, Hey! A remark is made. I'm pretty sure I warned you last time. Is something wrong with your head? I even roughly grabs his collar. You bastard! Isaac glares at Subaru and adds, Drop that smug look of yours. Do you think I'll let this slide? If you really want a beating that bad, you should have just said so. I'll crush you again, just like in the old days, just like you wanted. Subaru slowly grabbed his wrist and replied, Sorry, but... He easily forced Isaac to let go. I don't have time for this today. Looking at his own trembling hand, Isaac wondered in shock. Was he always this strong? Subaru then turned and walked away decisively. Consider it you paying for my coffee. Left behind, a bewildered Isaac called out after him. Hey! Isaac shouted loudly as Subaru headed for the door. Get back here! The door slammed shut right after he left. Only then did Isaac let out a sigh and mutter, I was just planning to climb the tower quietly. His face showed clear anger toward the two people. First Subaru Narukami, and now Subaru Hosoi. Isaac then marched aggressively toward the door, fuming, All of them! They just keep ticking me off! Outside, Subaru was still looking at his phone. Yes, his fingers tapped out a message. Elsewhere, someone was sitting in a bathtub. Haska glanced over when her phone received a message. The content read, Tonaru Kami Subaru, let's meet. The sewers were home to monsters, yet Subaru was there, a flaming sword in his hand. A system notification appeared as he looked up. I was entering the dungeon boss room, the lair of the exiled lizard man. A second notification appeared. Greed, level 3, negates side effects of the nameless demon sword. Subaru observed his surroundings cautiously, thinking to himself, I'm gradually getting used to this body. Suddenly, a flash of light cut through the shadows. A giant monster appeared. A system notification identified it. Boss, Salamander has appeared. Subaru raised both hands, constantly calculating how to prevent a repeat of last time while mastering the use of lightning. I need to test this out. He looked at his opponent and made a decision. How much power can I push? Subaru began focusing lightning energy into his legs. He aimed at the monster and lunged forward, his expression one of extreme focus. The monster growled threateningly and spat out a fireball. Subaru immediately raised his sword to block. Infusing lightning into the nameless demon sword, he sliced the fireball in two and pushed forward powerfully. A series of notifications appeared. Greed, level 3, negates side effects of lightning. Negation failed. Fatigue increased. Subaru aimed at the monster to launch his attack and delivered a decisive strike to its body. As soon as the monster was defeated, a barrage of notifications appeared. Dungeon cleared. Lair of the exiled lizard man. Level up. Strength increased. Stamina increased. Magic power increased. Subaru slowly ascended the stairs toward the surface, deep in thought. The stamina consumption reduction effect is better than I thought. I've still got plenty of energy left. Fatigue at 61. With this, even if I push my power further, I'll be fine. But the notification panel was incredibly detailed. Greed, rank D, level 3 skill, negates side effects of skills and items used by the player. Upgradable, cost, 40,000. Reading this, Subaru couldn't help but wonder, isn't requiring double the reputation points to level up a bit harsh? He thought to himself, his eyebrows furrowing. I wish someone would just show up and offer me a good job. Suddenly a voice rang out. Hunting, huh? Subaru immediately turned his attention to the source. From the shadows, he saw a man. The stranger walked toward Subaru with a sarcastic tone. You're hunting? A wicked smile spread across his face. Isaac looked at Subaru and remarked, We've known each other for a long time now, but this is a surprise. He couldn't hide his irritation at seeing the other man. You really are persistent, aren't you? Isaac waved his hand dismissively and continued. I've really been thinking about it, you know, but my anger has pushed me to the limit of my patience. Finally, the two stood face to face. Isaac threw out a challenge. Why don't we just end it right here? Subaru observed him cautiously. This guy... Elsewhere, a crowd had gathered on the street. The door to a venue opened, and Hawkeye slowly stepped inside. As he walked, someone raised a hand to signal him. Over here! A smile was on John's face. Hawkeye approached and spoke up. Long time no see. The other man replied quite politely, Is the streaming going smoothly? The other man sat down with a smug smile. Yeah, I guess. Most of the viewers are the same, so the numbers haven't changed much. John slowly sipped his drink as he remarked, Actually, that's better. Things built slowly don't collapse easily. Just then, Hawkeye curiously asked, By the way, why did you call me out of the blue? You probably didn't call me out here just for tea, so spit it out. John looked at him and exclaimed, Man, you're as sharp as your name, Hawkeye. He then moved on to this main topic, Subaru Narukami, the person he had evaluated yesterday. Are you serious about that? This question made Hawkeye a bit curious. That rookie? Like I said, I think his talent is greater than Subaru Narukami's at his peak, but whether he'll climb to the top, that's another story. After saying that, his eyes showed he was calculating. John rubbed his chin in agreement. I see, so that's your assessment. Hawkeye curiously asked back, Why do you ask? John quickly explained his intention. I'm planning to recruit him into the company. He smiled brightly and remarked, You really do have an eye for talent. But he has too few viewers right now. It's too early to recruit him, right? His recognition is too low. Hearing this, John set his glass down on the table while continuing, You're right. But hearing what you said makes me confident about him. An offer was put forward by him. Let's do a collaboration between you and Subaru Narukami. Increasing viewership and recognition is our job. Back on the other side, Isaac was arrogantly declaring, Right now, it's just the two of us here. Subaru answered calmly, not missing a beat. That's right. Isaac kept blaming him. This is all because you got carried through the dungeon, you know that, right? You don't even have a single scratch on you. You must have bolted the moment things got real. That's why I told you to just know your place, buddy. He leaned in closer, wearing the face of a man who'd climbed to the top purely by luck. Don't tell me you actually think you've become Subaru Narukami or something, trying to dream big and master lightning just like that streamer? Isaac even shoved him, sneering, Subaru Narukami, that piece of trash? If he's already dead, he should just stay buried in the graveyard where he belongs. Even so, his face couldn't hide his irritation. All of you just make me sick, damn it! A mocking question rang out. Is that right? Subaru just sighed, silently reflecting. I never expected an era filled with so many Subaru Narukami copycats. He turned to Isaac before replying. Let me ask you something. Why do you hate me so much that you treat me like an enemy? The explanation from his opponent was simple. Because your name has Subaru in it. Hearing this, Subaru retorted, then why do you hate that name? Everyone loves that name, don't they? With just that one sentence, Isaac was left speechless. You, he snapped. Do you even know who my father is and you're still asking me that? Subaru asked coolly. What does this conversation have to do with your parents? You're a grown man. Why do you have to drag your father into everything you say? Finally, Isaac didn't hesitate to reveal it. Reinhardt, high ranker of the 9th floor. Subaru's eyes widened at the name. Reinhardt, don't tell me, the one-strike swordsman? In the past, an urgent voice had once cried out. An unthinkable event had occurred. The announcement rang out. Subaru Narukami, of the Blue Eye, who appeared like a comet from Earth, has defeated the Sword, Saint Reinhardt of the Old Tongue continent. Everything that happened could be summarized in one sentence. It took just a single blow, less than 30 seconds. Even though his face was swollen from the injury, his opponent refused to give up. Wait, I can still fight. His hand reached out weakly, but in the end, he had to give up halfway. Returning to the present, Isaac was seething. You son of a bitch! Don't you dare say that name so casually, Subaru. Watching him, Subaru sighed again, finally understanding. So, the reason you see me as an enemy is because of the one-strike swordsman? Is it because of your father's nickname? He continued to press him. Do you have any idea how much Subaru Hosoi had to suffer because of that? Before Subaru could say more, Isaac launched an attack. Shut up, if you keep talking nonsense! But he wasn't standing there to just take the hit. Subaru walked slowly toward him, his face devoid of emotion. He looked at Isaac's hands, which were engulfed in hot flames. Isaac glared and arrogantly declared, No need for more jabbering, just die! Isaac charged forward aggressively, unleashing magic while shouting, I hate Subaru Narukami so much it makes me want to puke. I kept spewing insults at Subaru. He wasn't special, but he hogged all the attention and acted all high and mighty because of it. Because of a guild leader like that, those people got complacent and died with him. The more he spoke, the more bloodthirsty Isaac became, not noticing that Subaru's expression had turned cold. Serves them right. Even his expression was deeply contemptuous of him. Right now, on some floor in hell, they're probably rotting away, getting exactly what they deserved. Isaac threw a sphere of power toward Subaru and shouted, You having that name is your ultimate misfortune. The power sphere created a massive explosion. Just then, Subaru let out a sigh. Isaac clutched his face, acting remorseful as he spoke. I couldn't control my power. After all, he was someone I once called a friend. What have I done? A disgusting smirk played on Isaac's lips. Next, I'll probably go kill that masked streamer bastard. But he froze stiff when he heard Subaru's voice. Mask, you say? From within the flames, his silhouette gradually appeared. On Subaru's face was the mask that proved his true identity. Is this what you meant? Isaac couldn't believe his eyes. No way, he screamed, questioning him repeatedly. You took my flames head on. How is that possible? Subaru stepped forward. Feeling uncomfortable, aren't you? In the blink of an eye, he closed the distance. Listen here, you spoiled little brat. He threw a punch, using all his strength, slamming it straight into Isaac's gut. Isaac's eyes bulged in pain. He couldn't hold his ground and collapsed to the ground, even vomiting blood. Subaru looked at him and muttered about people who talk behind others' backs. Hearing this, Isaac wiped his mouth and replied, Why, this is impossible. He looked at the wretch before him as he began to speak. Let me ask you. Subaru's hand slowly took off his mask. Who is standing in front of you right now? Is it Subaru? Hosoi, the one you bullied and teased until he cried? Is it the Subaru Narukami who wears this mask? A question directed squarely at Isaac. Or is it the Subaru Narukami of the Blue Eye? Isaac slowly pushed himself up as he replied, Don't screw with me, so you're actually... That streamer Subaru Narukami, right? He turned his head to look at him and continued, What the hell? Lightning isn't even that big of a deal. Even trash like you managed to learn it. This hand is channeling fire magic. You really think you can beat me with that level of skill? Isaac's voice was filled with nothing but insults, mocking the pathetic weakling scrub who wasn't even worth his time. To think you're actually capable of learning that while being my errand boy. I'm even more skilled than the Narukami Subaru of the Blue Eye, right? He aimed his hand at Subaru to attack, right? Who would have thought he'd just flick his hand and cut it clean off? Isaac froze for a split second, completely unable to process what had just happened. Subaru looked at him and replied, unhurried, "Too bad, wrong answer. I'm actually shocked that you can spit out so much nonsense that's completely off the mark." Hearing this, Isaac was utterly confused. "Wait, what are you talking about?" His expression turned deathly terrified as he recalled the previous words. "Do you have any idea how much Subaru had to endure because of that? Feels uncomfortable, doesn't it?" Isaac kept turning it over in his mind. A brat like you, bad-mouthing them. And then, a horrifying realization hit him. "Don't tell me." A belated conclusion was reached. "You are the Blue Eye, Narukami." But right at that moment, Subaru struck him down, his face showing a seriousness he made no effort to hide. "Playtime is over." A stream of red fluid gushed from Isaac's body as Subaru brushed past him, declaring, "Being this soft was already pushing it for me." The next words he uttered seemed meant for the original soul of this body. "Consider this a thank you for letting me borrow your vessel." On the other side, everyone present was completely caught off guard. "What the? Is he some kind of Subaru Narukami fanboy or what?" They started whispering about the same thing. "Doesn't he have any shame? Looks like he's streaming." Subaru sat alone, thinking to himself, "As a streamer, I'll stick to the no-face reveal policy of the real Subaru Narukami. It's a massive advantage, keeping the other party from knowing my true face." His train of thought was interrupted by a voice. "I'm sorry I've kept you waiting." Haska hesitated, blushing as she introduced herself. "It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm the one who contacted you." She smiled, trying to hide her nervousness. "I'm Hasuka, your manager." Subaru shook her hand politely and replied, "I'm Subaru Narukami." She sighed in admiration. "I'm truly honored to meet you." Only then did Hasuka look up to observe him. She thought to herself, they really do look alike. She subconsciously remembered an acquaintance. If Subaru Narukami were still alive and returned, and if he were hiding his face behind a mask, what if you're just an imposter? That gaze made Subaru feel puzzled. Is something the matter? Haska hastily changed the subject. "Oh no." In her head, she was recalling John's passionate advice. Making a good first impression to win the client's trust is the key. Get it? Absolutely do not show any hint of being unreliable. Haska thought to herself, "I've already ruined it from the start." She ruffled her hair, completely flustered, until Subaru asked, "Are you a fan of Subaru Narukami?" Haska immediately admitted, "Yes, an extremely crazy fan." He replied in a low voice, "I'm not the real deal, so just stay calm. Besides, manager, I think you're younger than me." However, she quickly corrected him. "No, I'm a fan of yours too." Mentioning this topic, Haska was immensely proud and prattled on endlessly. "Actually, I've been following you since you didn't even have a single viewer. That means I was your very first fan. Back when you defeated that bat and passed Grace's challenge but then chose the lightning challenge to duel. It was fair to him. I was so surprised. And then, after that..." The more she spoke, the more enthusiastic she became with such nimble and skillful movements. "Just watching it, I felt so refreshed when you mastered it immediately. My hands were sweating. I've even faced a Titan fragment before." Subaru had to think to himself. "Is she really my first viewer? She remembers more things than I do." The corner of his mouth curled into a smile. "I was so carefree back then. It's surprising that you followed me." Haska's eyes sparkled. "It was epic, right? I think this is destiny. That's why I went straight to the company and begged, 'Please let me be his manager.'" In her head, she was quickly calculating. "Okay, time to act professional from now on to earn his trust." Haska pulled an item from her pocket while presenting it. "The contract is already prepared. Since you might be busy, let me summarize." She explained in great detail about things like commercial advertisements, broadcast clips, and events. "We will help create all kinds of added value that can be generated by using the Narukami brand." Subaru took the stack of papers and asked, "So, what do I have to do?" Haska explained simply, "Just keep streaming as usual. That's all we need." Hearing this, he curiously asked, "Is being a streamer that easy?" Haska smiled brightly, explaining, "Because you're the first person to master the lightning. And starting from the department head, everyone in our company holds you in high regard. You're doing great, me. Let's give it one last try." She continued asking, "So what do you think? Are the terms satisfactory?" Unexpectedly, Subaru suddenly wondered, "Are all of Saturn's managers like you, Haska?" The confidence on Haska's face faded almost immediately. "No, everyone else is much more reliable and professional than I am. I'm not that bad, but—" Subaru quickly corrected her. "Oh no, that's not what I meant." As he asked the question, he continued to observe her, assessing the aura she radiated. She's not an ordinary player. For someone with that level of skill to just be a manager? Haska had already fallen into a state of panic. "We're doomed!" At this moment, Subaru was calculating something else. "In other words, from now on, the opponents I'm about to face will be much stronger. There's no time to rest. I have to keep accelerating." Meanwhile, Haska was terrified. "I absolutely must make a reliable impression. What if he refuses? At this rate, should I force him to sign? To my surprise, you reached out and accepted the offer. I know for sure that you're someone I can trust." Subaru added with extreme politeness, "Please, I'm counting on your help." And Haska, deeply moved, replied, "That's exactly what I should be saying. Please, let me help you." In no time, the viewer count jumped to 703. Seeing this, even he was surprised. 700 viewers? Already? Right after starting the stream? Is this thanks to Haska's announcement? Meanwhile, at home, Haska was typing away, excitedly posting guides on the skill distribution schedule. Subaru adjusted his phone, lowered his voice, and announced, "All right, let's get started." A torrential rain poured down over the gloomy forest as the sixth act of the legend began. Inside a makeshift hut, a few figures stood huddled together, observing a map spread out on the table. Suddenly, Peleus frowned and turned to ask, "Where is our benefactor?" Pancon hesitated for a moment before replying, Seeing this, some of the knights looked displeased. "I find this suspicious. Should we really be trusting someone who isn't even a knight?" "Exactly. It's hard to believe that some outsider just popped up and single-handedly defeated a giant boss." The others quickly chimed in, "Unless—" Peleus had seen it with his own eyes. "You guys have been tricked. Was that really a giant boss? Or was it just a grunt?" Hearing this, Peleus snapped in frustration. "How can you people even say that?" Suddenly, a shout came from outside. A man happily led Subaru inside and announced, "Our benefactor has woken up." Seeing him, the man rushed over frantically. "Benefactor, are you all right?" Subaru waved a hand dismissively, replying, "Thanks to you, I can walk around just fine without any help." Whispers began to ripple throughout the tent. "Is that the hero who defeated the giant boss?" "I mean, I want to be polite, but he doesn't look that strong," someone muttered. Subaru scanned the room and remarked, "It seems like you guys don't believe I beat it, or maybe you just don't want to believe it." Remembering what she had told him, he performed a saved gesture to adjust his microphone frequency so that only his audience could hear his voice. He couldn't help but marvel, this is actually a pretty useful feature for such a dull situation. Finally, he calmly chimed in amid their rude comments. The chat started scrolling. "Draka of Destruction, don't underestimate him." "Spiky Angelfish, were you laughing behind that mask?" "Sasuke Subaru, you're so confident." Seeing this, the man standing there reached out his hand first. "Thank you," he said, then slowly introduced himself. "I am Dale." Subaru replied with a polite tone, "It's a pleasure to meet you." "Is that so?" Dale let out a heavy, reluctant sigh. "I tried to protect the village, but everyone was just trampled." Those words made Subaru flinch. "Trampled?" A flash of hatred flared in the old man's eyes. "Yes, because of that thing." Before he could finish, Subaru immediately guessed, "By that, you mean? Is there something even more dangerous than that boss?" The other man replied in a low voice, "Yes. A figure who fights like the one you encountered. As you might know, the true giants, the ones who once waged war against the gods. They were sealed away somewhere and vanished. Now they are frantically scouring the forests. Most of the giants are here. It was as if their thoughts or the trails they left behind. Just remembering it made Dale tremble. However, the giant that appeared after you killed the boss, it was different. It was close to the legendary giants. It's hard to believe such an entity still exists." Watching the scene, the chat went wild. "Q protein, sorcerer, wait, does that mean level 8? Custeron, no one has ever gone that far, so it shouldn't be. Real squid. If that's real, how are we supposed to beat him? Unexpectedly, he drew his own conclusion. Well, it looks like we don't have any other choice but to defeat it then. Someone in the crowd couldn't help but sneer. Pretty confident, aren't you? We're in a position where we have to beg for help, but that sounds like an impossible suggestion. You say that because you haven't faced the real thing yet. At that moment, Peleus, who had been silent, suddenly spoke up. Benefactor? Everyone turned to look at him. There is a legend passed down since ancient times, the 1,000-year mountain. At the peak of that towering mountain, a piece of lightning is hidden. Saying this, Peleus became cautious. And the only person who can find it is... He paused for a moment before looking straight at Subaru. I believe that person can only be you, Benefactor. Flames erupted in the village, causing the villagers to panic as the giants, with their massive bodies, chased after them. Biden, the voice echoed through the space. My child! Giant hands reached down to grab a knight. Hearing that, the giant lifted the man right before his eyes. With just a tiny bit of force, he could easily crush him. A hand reached out, dripping with fresh blood. I will send you off with the blood of humanity. In his eyes, the reflection of that madness shone. Subaru stood on the cliff, witnessing it all. That guy. The chat exploded in shock. Hiran Kanai, wow, so the one defeated earlier was his child? Shadow Sovereign, that's huge. Guy Guardian, is that a real giant? Subaru pulled hard on the reins and explained, he's genuinely trying to kill everyone. The comments that followed reminded him of what Peleus had said earlier. It will take about 3 days for the giant to get here. If you can't find the lightning by then, just run away. That is the only way to protect the benefactor's life. Subaru was heading to the 1,000-year mountain to defeat the giant. The power of lightning was indispensable. It might be the key to this challenge. Some people offered their opinions. Azangan, try it again. Low, up conservation, up, at least 2 times, I guess. This time, he firmly decided not to follow them. No, there isn't a single challenge in this tower that I can't conquer. No sooner had Subaru finished speaking than he realized, damn it, I accidentally used a catchphrase. The viewers in the chat were caught off guard. School Osiri is so confident. Real Squid, I've heard that line before. Savage Road. Is that some kind of catchphrase? A system notification popped up before his eyes. The boss Esset has registered a quest. If you defeat it, you will receive 3,000 prestige points. Ha! Subaru Narukami has registered a quest, because it's a feasible quest. Bat Ham Job has registered a quest. It's just a small amount of money. Seeing that, he let out a sigh of relief. Good I wasn't discovered, and that wasn't a bad reaction, right? Thinking this, his hand gripped the reins again. The horse was immediately reined in by Subaru, and he quickly dismounted. Only then did he have a chance to look around. A lightning shard is hidden here. Before him stood a high cliff, its peak invisible. Subaru stepped forward, carefully touching each layer of rock. Before leaving, he hadn't forgotten the warning. The lightning shard is a legendary item. Whether it was a special power, an object, or even a person, in truth there was no information. Back then he had carefully asked, do you know how to retrieve it? The other side replied with regret. Unfortunately, we only know the location of the mountain and the legend. After that, Peleus added in a stern voice, but one thing is certain. The person who once held the lightning destroyed the giants. The hand holding the phone stayed silent for a long time. What's wrong? Haska then suddenly exclaimed, the contract has been finalized, Chief. The person on the other end hadn't yet reacted. What did you say? Really? Then he squinted his eyes and laughed with delight. You did it! Finally, Haska had become a decent person. Her attitude had changed drastically, hadn't it? With this, I'll be respected too. Wait, are you complimenting me? The other side raised his voice. Of course, I've met Hoka. He paused for a moment before slowly revealing, there is something I want to tell you soon, Haska. Haska then relaxed, leaning back on the bed. All right, I'm done with work. Let's watch the stream, shall we? Her eyes quickly lit up. On the screen was Subaru's silhouette. Watching it on screen and seeing it in person, this was the ultimate joy for an otaku. At that moment, he raised his head and declared loudly, there isn't a challenge in this tower that I can't conquer. This statement made Haska freeze for a few seconds. Then, she startled and sat bolt upright. A drop of cold sweat ran down her cheek. A line from over 25 years ago had just been uttered so naturally. On the other side, vague yellow lightning bolts struck down. Seeing him walk forward, the comments appeared again. MD Chansei, are you snapping your fingers? Real Squid, don't tell me you're desperate. Gainfufti Hansam, Gui from room 3, is anyone saying anything? He lifted his hand to reveal a deep dent. What is tougher than this? Finished speaking, Subaru rolled his shoulders and clenched his fist. Let's fight until the end. The punch, carrying powerful lightning, slammed down. Rubble flew everywhere. At this moment, the corner of Subaru's mouth curled up smugly. Found you. Rain fell on the ground in waves. The comments began to appear. Demgaki, what is that? Rector, don't tell me that's muscle brain stuff. Laughing gremlin, is anyone saying that? Seeing that, he clenched his fist, thinking to himself, of course you guys would wonder. That feeling can't be conveyed through a stream. Thinking this, Subaru turned to observe his surroundings. A massive lightning energy was calling out to his lightning powerfully. Before him were blocks of exquisitely carved stone. Behind this door, his footsteps urged him forward. Seeing him enter, the comments flooded the screen again. Bloody Fang, that door is huge. Maxio, looks like a door the giant race would use. Grave Ardia, how are you supposed to open it without a key? Brute Breaker, just break it. Son Blacksmith, that's your specialty, right? Savage Road, this, but how? Subaru reached out, feeling along the stone block. Very quickly, he found a gap. It's truly a blatant clue. In other words, black lightning spread as the system notified, creating grade 3 greedy lightning, neutralizing the side effects of lightning. In his heart, he speculated, the real challenge is probably inside. The comments also became tense. Into the game. Lightning, I'm counting on you. Savage Road, are you really planning to break it? A powerful fist immediately struck out. His face darkened noticeably. If you're going to call me that enthusiastically, the door instantly took the hit. Then I'll answer you. The sturdy stone showed a crack, and a powerful pressure gradually radiated throughout the space. When the smoke and dust cleared, the door slowly opened. The space gradually appeared, making everyone curious. Savage Rose, he's just moving forward. Read Kobach, a big event is about to happen. Underground lot, let's go. At this moment, Subaru stood silently, waiting. Feeling the time was right, he carefully stepped inside. It was a dark void. The door outside immediately slammed shut behind him. Entering the path where lightning passes, you cannot leave until the stage is cleared. On the other side, a faint light shone from inside the tent. Everyone in the room gathered around the table, Dale included. He couldn't help but be worried. Peleus, do you really think he'll be able to get the lightning? Hearing that, he asserted firmly. He can, I'm sure of it. He frowned again, looking troubled. Lightning, even though he is an outsider? You place a lot of faith in him. Peleus's lips curled up slightly. That person has proven himself. There's no reason to doubt him. The following words made Dale freeze. What if it is the lightning? In any case, we're all going to die anyway. The figure kneeling on the ground trembled. He didn't understand. He kept biting his nails, muttering, that giant. The power he possesses. I experienced it firsthand at that village. He stepped forward and slowly leaned down. Even so, we can't give up, can we? Saying this, Peleus smiled, encouraging them. Let's place our faith in him one more time. In that young hero who has done everything for us without asking for anything in return. Even so, the person opposite was still trembling with tears in their eyes. Before the words could even finish, a loud noise cut through the air, causing the water glass on the table to vibrate and spill. Right at that moment, someone ran in and shouted, "It's not good! He's here!" Hearing this, everyone turned in alert. In the cave, formed by solid rock walls, Subaru turned his head to scan the surroundings, then carefully moved deeper inside. What do you want me to do here? Looking at the path ahead, the commentary slowly died down. Sidespin, there's nothing here, absolutely nothing. Dumchiwawa, nothing at all. One of them chimed in, the wolf hunter's lightning is too fast to be seen. Subaru agreed deep down. It made sense. Before lightning discharges, it's just electrical charges. Scattered throughout the air, that's all. A cold breeze emanated from the cave, so naturally, one wouldn't be able to see the lightning. It turned out this wasn't a challenge of sight. Thinking this, he nodded, eyes closed. The name of this challenge, the Path of the Lightning. A surge of power radiated from his palms, and the intense lightning deep inside was calling out to him with its pull. Subaru's eyes widened in horror. Immediately after, he bent down to pick up a stone. Perhaps this challenge is... I used all his strength to hurl the stone forward. Lightning surrounded the rock. Electricity that couldn't be seen by the naked eye, drifting everywhere in the air. The deeper I go, the stronger it reacts. The force coming at me gets faster every moment. The stone reached a certain point and shattered. Savage Rose, huh? Custom? What was that just now? Secret? What the hell is going on? Subaru whispered to himself. Must be. Right. Even knowing that, I still have to move forward. He let out a sigh. You really have no taste. Saying that, he hurried on his way. Looks like this time, they are testing my endurance. Lightning crackled around his body. Basically, if you can't take it, you're dead. Notifications popped up with every step Subaru took. Eolagi has gifted 100 prestige points. Why are you so scared? Mission Villain has registered a 1,000 prestige point mission if you succeed. Subaru Narukami-fan has gifted 1,000 prestige points. You should stop. The lightning you've gained might disappear. Living Player has registered a Keep Moving mission for 2,000 prestige points. Seeing this, he whispered softly. Mission rewards. Thank you all so much. Nearby, a large pot of water was boiling over a bright red fire. Silently sitting on the sofa, he cast his eyes down at the phone screen in his hand. The front door suddenly swung open. Seeing that attitude, Rena raised her voice. Huh? She let out a sharp sigh and continued. What are you hiding? You're watching something obscene, aren't you? Tiger smiled, stammering. I'm not hiding anything. My eyes are just tired, that's all. Rena walked over nonchalantly and sat down beside him. I heard your hair grows faster, you know. He startled and scooted away. Don't say such weird things, I told you, it's not like that. At this, she grabbed a piece of bread. Since you said that, I stopped watching the stream, but fine, whatever. Sig, by now, was full of suspicion. I get it, but what are you doing here? While eating, she looked at him blankly. What's with that reaction? You mean I can't relax on the sofa? He startled, wanting to explain. No, I didn't mean that. Right then, a sound came from the phone. If that's the case, I will endure and give it my all. Tiger's face instantly went pale. You don't have to say things like that. Rena covered her ears and snapped. Hey, my ears! I'm about to explode. Don't scream so suddenly like that. The other person didn't care and continued. Just rest as much as you like. Don't worry about me. But the opportunity had passed. Sig tightened his grip on the phone to mute it. Once finished, his voice returned to normal. You're always stubborn and never listen to others. What a weird guy. Suddenly, she stood up abruptly. How annoying. Tiger looked after her, curious. Huh? Where are you going? There was no answer. He raised his voice again. You know, you could have stayed longer. You could have had some bread, or even lied down if you wanted. Until the door upstairs slammed shut, cutting him off, Sig finally held his phone and let out a sigh of relief. That was close, almost got caught. On the screen was the silhouette of Subaru. If she knew I was watching the stream, she'd definitely make a huge scene. I don't even want to imagine it. Sig's pupils flashed with a glimmer. Even if our positions were reversed, Subaru wouldn't forget us. His voice rang out again. So basically, if you can't take it, you're dead. A guess formed in his mind. His personality and the way he spoke were exactly like Subaru. Just then he gritted his teeth and said, Thanks for the mission reward. This made Tiger dismiss that thought. However, he was nothing like Subaru when it came to grinding for prestige points in such a desperate way. Thinking this, he hung his head and muttered, What is going on? Who knows? His shoulder was tapped by a force. You should ask yourself that question. He turned around, stunned. You really think I didn't notice? Gina stood behind him, narrowing her eyes. Trying to fool me? You're still too green. At this moment, the system board appeared with a request. Carve out the path of the lightning. Hearing this, Subaru paused for a second. With every step he took, lightning sparked. Everywhere he walked was covered in power. Progress, 2.3%. His hand, glowing with golden light, swung through the air. Subaru watched silently for a long time. A familiar feeling. When it comes to lightning, I've faced it more times than I can count. Then, his eyes flashed. His figure quickly strode through the space. Progress, 2.3%. Subaru's breathing gradually became heavy. There was still a long way to go. He lifted his feet, taking firm steps, but he poured all his strength into moving forward. Let's assume the goal is very close now. Subaru's face had darkened. I might not be reading the chat from now on. They urged him even more desperately. Abisupan, honestly speaking, just run. Skeleton Osorio, looks like he's already too badly hurt to read the chat. Mephisto, afraid of death, clinging to life. Reaching the designated spot, he reached his hand out forward. Achieving the goal was inevitable. A golden light radiated from his palm, as if he wanted to reach for even more. At the same time, someone was watching intently. Hawkeye leaned forward, staring at the screen in silence for a long time. He suddenly remembered what John had said. You and Subaru Narukami should team up. He curled his lips into a smile and muttered, How long has it been since John personally took on a project? He slowly set his water glass down. I've always told you, right? He leaned back in his chair, offering advice. In the world of entertainment streaming, you can only handle half the workload yourself. Understanding that this was all part of the assessment, Hawkeye rested his chin in his hand and muttered, Who my family is and which players exist in this era. That's what determines popularity. The other man's lips curled slightly. Exactly. Subaru Narukami's stream isn't about fan interaction. It's more like a vlog for veteran players. He paused, then added, Subaru might be a rookie streamer, but you just need to keep up your usual commentary style. He said that, and then John lowered his voice, emphasizing, This might be a real opportunity to ride a comet. The words that followed grabbed his attention. To become a star that can shine alongside him. In that moment, Hawkeye's eyes flashed with a spark. Now, looking back, he leaned back comfortably. You could run away right now because you're just not confident enough. About climbing the tower, right? I want to become greater than anyone else too, you know. Reflected in his pupils, the dim light before his eyes made it look like Hawkeye was seeing an entire galaxy. A star. His hand reached out, wanting to touch that light. Can I really become like them? His whole body suddenly froze in place. A moment later, Hawkeye bolted upright. What am I doing in the middle of work? Just by looking at the screen, he had to gasp. Are you out of your mind? On his end, the live stream was still running. The veins on Subaru's neck, scarred and throbbing, stood out. Golden lightning surged all around him, and cuts appeared on his hands, bleeding freely. Subaru didn't care. He kept moving forward. Then, he leaped into midair, his injured arm trying to shield his exhausted face, as Subaru felt the power building within his body. The lightning grew stronger, burrowing deeper into his frame. He lowered his head, watching carefully. This should be enough. His heart was flooded with a golden surge of power. Even the tiniest meridians throughout his body, including both the Ren and Du channels, were starting to be filled with lightning. His muscles bulged. A system notification appeared. Progress at 20.7%. The process of opening the minor meridians is underway. Subaru's whole body launched forward through the space. The lightning stabilized within his body. Mana +1. Seeing this, he clenched his fist with determination. I have to control this no matter what! At that moment, those bolts of lightning raced across Subaru's body. The Ren and Du channels are the body's central pathways. The minor meridians are just the smaller vessels connecting the whole body. Once the minor meridians are open, that means internal energy reaches every corner of the body. Every step he took was incredibly firm. Subaru hadn't gone through the traditional purification process for the minor meridians. In other words, he was taking a shortcut. A notification panel popped up. Status effect, electrocution. Bright red blood began to drip down past his mask. Normally, people would handle their mana like this. Subaru stopped, trying to suppress the pain. Relying on external lightning makes it easier, but it brings so much pain. It was unimaginable. Immediately after, his pace quickened even more, and blood dripped onto the ground, more and more with every step. In the room, Haska stared intently at her phone. On it, Subaru's live stream was playing. Her expression couldn't hide her worry. Clearing the minor meridians? Are you trying to do that here? His breathing was becoming increasingly labored. Inside his body, it's moving. and not relying on his own mana or internal energy, but on external force. Haska lowered her head, exhausted, thinking to herself, the pain must be indescribable. Most people couldn't take it and would definitely pass out. Blood dripped from behind his mask. Even if you die in a challenge, it doesn't affect reality. But the pain is just like in real life. She gritted her teeth, trying to suppress her emotions. So why? By now her eyes were welling up with tears. Why go this far? On the other side, a notification appeared with every step. Progress at 50.3%. The process of opening the minor meridians is underway. Mana +1. Subaru lowered his head, trying to push forward. It's all my fault. His whole body began to tremble, as if he were the one who had killed them in the past. Subaru stood before everyone and shouted, I always said this, didn't I? There's no challenge that can't be conquered. Then he added softly to reassure them, don't worry. Everyone on the Blue Eye team was determined. In the end, I am the winner. Up to this point, his mind was starting to swim. Subaru lunged forward. If only I hadn't been so careless. If only I hadn't pushed them with such overconfidence. His face darkened. Then nobody would have had to die. His face flashed in his mind. Honestly, his lips couldn't help but curl up. You guys failed because you were just too arrogant. Recalling that, he blamed himself even more. All the blood trailed along the path Subaru walked. It's my fault. Reaching this point, he collapsed helplessly to the ground. Thin, fragile golden lightning still flickered across his hands. Before Subaru was a vast grassland. The breeze carried the scent of grass, blowing through his hair. Where was this? Under a tree, a group of people were happily chatting. At that moment, a chill ran down his spine. It took Subaru a long time to finally gasp. Everyone, the entire Blue Eye team was gathered together. Suhei Soya, Kaori, even Sigle and Rena. Subaru quickly wove through the thick grass, then broke into a run. Is this all just a dream? The silhouettes in front of him were still standing there. His tears couldn't be held back anymore. Of course, it had to be like this, right? Finally, Subaru made it there. God, what an absolute nightmare that was. At least listen to what I dreamt about. Suddenly, a voice called out, Subaru! Su and Soa glared at him, eyes burning with accusation. You've led us to our deaths, haven't you? I don't want to die. The shadows draped over his face, cold and unforgiving. From a distance, Chino spoke up. You keep talking about these grand things, only to... A massive hole had been punched through her stomach. Why didn't you protect us? Subaru's eyes widened, pupils constricting. Chino! A warm, flickering flame suddenly erupted into a violent blaze. He gasped, left speechless. Screams of agony tore through the fire. Seeing this, Subaru desperately reached out. Wait! Stop! He frantically searched his surroundings. Everyone, don't go! Wait, please! Cold sweat streamed down his cheek. In the end, Subaru could only collapse to his knees. Please! Until a blinding light flashed across the void. Subaru bowed his head, coughing up a spray of blood. So this is an illusion often experienced during meridian unblocking. You were on the verge of a cultivation deviation. The system before his eyes continued. Your consciousness shattered, putting you in a critical state. Progress, 97.87%. Minor meridians opening. Lightning energy stabilizing in your body. Magic power +1. Deep down, he couldn't help but feel furious. Who came up with this insane challenge? With that thought, Subaru stood up decisively. Thanks for the heads up. Why am I still alive? In that golden light, John's face appeared. Elsewhere, everyone was gathering in one spot. The villagers gripped their farming tools tightly. The giant stood there, grinning, its mouth stretched all the way to its ears. The knights panicked. Fall back! Are you kidding me? Is that the real boss? Then, from behind, a firm voice rang out. Our benefactor will surely return. Dale stepped forward aggressively. You blindly entrusted the fate of this village to a stranger? You don't even know his name, yet you dare to doubt him? They were speechless, unable to argue. We have nothing to say. Peleus frowned, lowering his voice to warn them. How disgraceful. And you call yourselves knights? A hand tapped his shoulder. You're right, Dale. He stepped out, loudly reminding them, before blaming others, we must remember that protecting this village is our duty. His sword flashed as he drew it. Immediately after, he declared loudly, "Knights are not meant to be protected. They are the protectors." With that, he charged forward. Dale led the group, rushing in. "Today, let's die like true knights." At the same time, the notification read 99% complete. A golden vortex appeared before him. Seeing this, Subaru quickly approached. I didn't know what it was, but based on the progress, it had to be the objective. Blood continued to drip heavily. His fatigue had reached 97. A corner of the mask was cracking. Just one more step. His body swayed, but he pushed forward toward the target. "Must lower my fatigue. Going any further will be too dangerous." He lifted his foot, channeled a surge of light, and stomped down hard. A blast of energy radiated outward. Dale gripped his sword tighter. The slash landed, sending blood splattering everywhere. The giant's foot took the full impact. The giant tilted its head back and roared in pain. Then it swung its fist down. At that moment, Peleus agilely lunged forward, sword in hand. He glared, shouting, "Leave the rest to me!" He leaped off the giant's thigh for momentum. The giant looked up. At the same time, his blade tore through the wind. Peleus's eyes widened, his pupils cold. He struck straight down, causing the area to tremble. The giant's body began to shake uncontrollably. Debris and red blood exploded outward. The giant lost its strength and collapsed to the ground. Seeing this, the remaining knights cheered, "We did it! Lord Peleus! Lord Dale! We finally took it down!" They quickly swarmed toward the carcass. "Die! Just die already! Stomping around here like it's your own home! Filthy monster!" "It's all thanks to you, Lord Dale." Peleus finally managed a relieved smile. "The dangerous one I warned you about is dead. We can finally get some rest, Dale." Dale hugged his chest, gasping for air. After a short pause, he said seriously, "It wasn't me. Some other knights were still gloating. Turns out it wasn't even that tough. Lord Dale and Lord Peleus are just too strong." One of them, not paying attention, felt a shadow loom over him. "Now all we have to do is finish off the remaining giants and—" A giant foot crushed him flat. Peleus gasped when he confirmed it. "It's that one." One look was enough to realize that this one was on a completely different level. At that same moment, a hand reached out, nearly touching the orb. Progress, 99.99%. Then, Subaru grabbed it firmly. "I'll make you beg for mercy in hell." The success notification chimed. Progress, 100%. Subaru's eyes widened with determination. "Kyoju, I'll take your head as a souvenir!" A violent surge of power erupted, engulfing him in golden light until it slowly faded away. Finally, Subaru's body reached its limit. It was over. His eyes widened, bloodshot. A jolt of electricity surged down his spine. Minor meridian unblocking complete. Magic amplification increased by 20%. Skill casting speed increased by 20%. All stats +2. He fell back, limp. "If you had enough strength for one more hit," Subaru's voice became intermittent, "you could have at least warned me." Before he could finish, he lost consciousness on the ground. Scene 6, legend completed. John sat before his computer, chin in hand, deep in thought. He muttered quietly, "You can only be reckless up to a certain point." The comments kept rolling in. "The difficulty is insane. He fainted again. No idea when he'll wake up this time." His fingers tapped rhythmically on the desk. "Doesn't seem like he's cut out for streaming." His phone on the desk suddenly buzzed. John quickly picked up. "I'm watching Subaru Narukami's stream right now." The person on the other end replied, "So you saw it too, John? It's crazy, right?" The corner of the other person's mouth curled up. He spoke calmly, wanting to explain it so everyone could understand. "This guy is really going to be a star." Hokai leaned back in his chair. "As a player and a streamer." Hearing this, John looked skeptical. "You think so?" "Honestly, I think it's going to be too hard for him." The corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl up. He stayed calm and explained it so everyone could understand. "This guy is seriously going to become a star." Hokai leaned back comfortably in his chair as a player and streamer. Hearing that, the old man looked suspicious. "You really think so?" "Actually, I think it'll be tough for him. Clearly, he's more of a player than a streamer." He raised his voice to continue. "Exactly. That's the core content that everyone watching this stream is here for. A Subaru." Narukami was almost like the original. His figure appeared incredibly powerful. Subaru Narukami isn't a streamer. He's a player. On the other end of the line, the old man listened in silence. In other words, we are about to witness the birth of Subaru Narukami. Dale's brows furrowed slightly in thought. In real time, hands covered in scars pressed against the ground. Seeing that, the comments started flooding in again. Woke up early this time, huh? So glad to see he's still alive. Finally awake. Ha! Subaru cast a sharp, icy glare upward. He checked the system board. Damn, what's my fatigue level at? The notifications on the board popped up. Fatigue 81. He felt satisfied and thought to himself, good. It's lower than last time. I guess the higher stats are working. That final lightning strike was unexpected, but the result wasn't bad. Right after that, a series of notifications began to appear. Mission complete. Received reputation points. Current reputation points. 20,420. Subaru stood there, exhaling. That saved a significant amount. At this moment, the screen changed again. Greed. D rank. Skill type. Increases the level cap of items and skills used by the player. He calculated quietly, but it still wasn't enough to upgrade the skill grade. If I defeat that giant, maybe it'll be enough. A surge of power radiated in his palm. This was the key to taking it down. Information gradually completed. Lightning spear. Cannot be traded. Legendary rank. Weapon type. Equipment grade. Okay. An ancient spear carved from pure lightning. A single throw will deliver a devastating, decisive blow. Remaining uses. 1. The viewers were in awe. Legendary item? Throwing a 1,000,000 damage shot? That dropped here? Are you kidding? By the way, that was because of his account. He couldn't help but feel excited himself. Even though it's a single-use item, something like this isn't even in the 8th floor, let alone this early. Subaru's mouth curled up instinctively. Exactly. It doesn't look like a spear, does it? His fingers reached out to tap an item on the system. Then he began to warm up his shoulders. Great items can change shape under certain conditions. They couldn't help but feel amazed. Regressor, how do you even know stuff like that? Man, you're talking like a total pro. His footsteps were nimble as he stepped forward. All right, let's go destroy that thing. The comments grew even more fired up. Amenston, blow it away with lightning, Peleus yelled in terror, opening his mouth wide as the giant eyes stared down at them. Then, it suddenly stood up. The sky darkened, and it looked up at the sky. Then, it turned and shouted. The giant seed had devoured the giant's records. He looked anxiously at the person running toward him. Hey, what do you think you're doing? The other person's eyes widened, tears streaming down. I told you, didn't I? You people don't know anything. He ran to the giant's feet and knelt. Oh, great spirit, I am not like those foolish people. Saying that, the knight desperately kowtowed. Please, have mercy on me. The giant figure stood tall before his eyes. A god? Its eyes rolled downward. Do not equate me with those cowards. Filthy! Dale quickly ran over to pull him up. What are you doing? Get up! He couldn't budge the guy. Peleus, hurry up! Get the villagers as far away as possible. Run! The movement before his eyes made him shudder. Peleus shouted in a panic. The giant's fist pressed down, making blood spray out. Peleus stiffened. There was no way to win. He gritted his teeth, scanning his surroundings. Every escape route was blocked by the giant figures that had suddenly appeared. He held his ground amidst the chaos. Clenching his teeth to suppress his rage, Peleus took a deep breath and roared, I know who killed your child. I know exactly who did it. Hearing that, Surt immediately demanded, Who killed him? His face leaned close to the ground. Who? His whole body tried to suppress the trembling. That sword drawn over there, flashing under the moonlight. Surt turned his head in confusion to look. The one who killed your son went that way, collecting power to kill you and your race. At that moment, he only silently hoped in his heart, Please take the bait. Go that way. He stared in that direction in silence for a long time. When he turned back, Surt's expression had darkened. Liar. Your words are tainted with lies. Darkness covered his face. Peleus, the one who killed my son, is not there. You two just pointed that filthy sword at a random spot. Before he could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by the sheer power radiating out. If you don't answer now... Surt snapped his head toward the opposite direction. Peleus seemed to sense something too. A vortex carrying bolts of lightning appeared. The noise grew louder with every passing second. Benefactor! The system notification appeared above. Stage 7. The lightning is about to begin. Subaru stood there, silently observing it all. Good. This is the final stage. The comments appeared one by one, and it got louder, right? It was still growing. He calculated in his heart. If something stronger than that appeared, this challenge couldn't be called Stage 2 content anymore. The viewers were skeptical. This is a warped kind of misery conservation. Even if I gathered everyone, do you really intend to fight that thing? Shouldn't we run away? Subaru spoke up to reassure them. It's okay. His hand reached out through the panel. No need to overthink it. I just need to land one hit. A brilliant golden orb was pulled out by Subaru. Right now, it wasn't an opponent he could face head-on. I have to take it down before it lunges. As he raised it, the system notified, activating lightning spear. A beam of light shot straight into the sky. Initializing lightning spear. Activation rate, 1.1%. The golden lightning spread across space, gradually weaving into the clouds to create a vortex. Subaru had a grim face as he stood on the cliff. Fatigue had risen to 84. His hands poured all his strength into controlling the stream of lightning. Fatigue rose to 85. A weapon gradually formed until Subaru could actually grasp it. Activation rate, 33.1%. Then he gripped the weapon tightly in his hand. Greed. The side effects of the lightning spear are back again. The nullification failed. The compatibility is way too low. Blood just surged out again. I guess my skill level is still too pathetic to handle a legendary item.